emergency call for all interns. Please report to the main hangar immediately.
You're alive! That's fantastic news. I was worried that after your last job, you would be gone. For your next gig, could you gather readings for me again?
You got it, boss.
Please, pick a vehicle to ensure mission success. Refill your empty blueprints to note your findings on the mission. Attention all personnel, prepare for your mission and good luck.
So good.
And we are
live.
Welcome on to the gangs. Oh, TJ, just shut that music off on me right there.
I did. It was overlapping the sound.
Perfect. Yeah, well, you think we know what we're doing over here. Dave, welcome on to the show, man. How you doing?
Good. How's it going, fellas?
Good, man. Love that video.
I think tonight. Well, excited. Pumped up by that for sure. Exactly. That was a great intro. What a way to kick it off.
I was not expecting that at all today. We knew we were going to be talking. We saw some slideshow stuff, but then to see that drop, I was just like it was like almost like when you see a new game trailer or movie trailer or something like that, you get excited. I was looking at it, I'm like, holy shit. Like, I'm so excited for tonight. Made it that much more hype. So appreciate you jumping on, man. And I know tonight's going to be a fun one. I know the community's hyped up for this. If you guys are down in chat, which they see quite a bit of people already, make sure to go hit that like button, hit that retweet button if you're over on X, share the video, get the word out. So we got Dave here who's ready to sweat and talk about adventures.
We already have a really quick burning question. Did Dave start drinking?
I did, Smokey.
I want to know if that was your voice in the trailer.
Definitely not my voice, but I did start drinking. I told you guys before we started, but I started drinking a bit too early. So I've already worked up a sweat. I'm already feeling pretty loose. And so, yeah, I think that's to everyone's benefit.
Oh, that's perfect, man. We know, so we always have a joke too. I mean, this is maybe like the third or fourth time now that we've had you onto the stream, and just every time, I don't know, it's just because, like you said, whether it's you guys have some fun stuff to announce, you got the confidence in you and you jump on, but every time you've done it, the rocket ship has been primed, it's been ready to launch, and there's a big just hype in the derp community just in general. So it feels like that's another one of these times right now, especially before Rare Evo. I know you guys are looking forward to heading out there, but what is it about that, man? There
is for sure like a sequence of things that have happened from 2022 and 2023 and now maybe 2024 where the first time I came on the show was around fall 2022. Mm-hmm. And then that's when we first had, I think, our big moment. That was leading up to like partner staking, I think, at the time. Like we had, and we were leading up to Rebirth as well. Yep. And then we had 2023 last year came on. We were again leading up to Vegas, NFTLV, Rare Evo here in Denver. And we were about to announce Outposts. We had a lot of going on. And now, same thing. Summer's winding down. I'm on the show. We've got Adventures launch coming up, which is by far our biggest deliverable. Rare Evo's later this week. I don't think it's coincidence.
just a whirlwind of hype right now, man. And I didn't expect that to get the launch date, but August 26th is the official launch as of right now for Adventures. And is that a hard, firm date right now?
I over the weekend, I gave Geek 4 opportunities. I was like, dude, we're about to send this over to the video editor. We have to confirm. We have, is this the date? It's going to go in the video. We're going to release it Monday. I gave him 4, and every time he's like, we're good. Okay. So it wouldn't be a derp launch. I'll go ahead and say this. It would not be a derp launch if there's not, at a minimum, some hiccups we have to work through. Mm-hmm. But I've got people who are like DMing me and texting me. They're like, I'm taking PTO for the week. They're taking time off from work. I'm like, hold on. Crazy. Don't do that. Like, don't do it on the day of. Maybe a couple days later, if you really want to grind at launch. Like, okay, but that puts so much extra pressure. Like, people are taking time off for the launch.
That.
Isn't that crazy though? Isn't that
like the midnight release for games?
That's what I was gonna say. It's like, imagine like gaming studios feel that first night, like with like servers go online kind of thing, and hopefully everybody can log in and get into it. You guys have got something similar going on to that, so it's just cool. I can imagine it's a cool experience to be able to do that. And we're gonna talk about that too, because it's like, all right, what can you really do with this platform, this game? Is it really gonna keep you interested? And I know we'll get into that a little bit now, because I saw a milestone in there that kind of even took me back. Be like, wow, that's quite a bit of stuff to be able to do it that long. So we'll jump that back into that. But hey, before we get going into this fun slideshow presentation for everybody, can you give maybe like a quick overview of that, what Adventures is, and then maybe we can talk quickly about how that trailer, about how that story happened real quick, because we were talking backstage.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't think anyone's asked yet, like, what's the TLDR on Adventures? So let me work through this with you guys. Really, I think what isn't captured, I think the trailer does a really good job at basically setting the stage for what Adventures is about. But I think in the context of Web3, the NFT space, it's pretty easy, and rightfully so. I think it's very fair to draw comparisons to the platforms that we do all know, like. If you're from Cardano, then you're probably familiar with Tavern Squad. You're probably and like what they did with their raid system. You're probably familiar with Dengetsu and their Hustle. I think they call it the Hustle platform, which is sort of like this. They call it like a dynamic or gamified staking, where you're basically going to send your characters, your NFTs off to do some things and get some rewards. And I think if you only have like 3 seconds to understand what we're doing, you could compare it to that. I think at that point, that's really where the comparison ends, and that's no knock against, Shaz or Luca on those respective teams. I love both of them, but Adventures has a lot more depth, and as we'll get into tonight, I think, as exciting as the game launch is, like what we'll be launching and what everyone will be participating in, it's the platform behind it that truly is, I think, the thing that I don't want to say it's more exciting, but I think that's where the real depth and the real capabilities, what makes it different from those other platforms, is really the platform that's behind it. And so as quickly as possible, what Adventures it launches, there are 3 different types of questing, right? There's scouting, there's research, and there's campaigns, which are sort of story are narrated, and they're like these story-driven campaigns. Researching is for learning blueprints, and scouting is for collecting crafting materials. You bring your blueprints and your crafting materials together to craft new traits for your derps and preds, and then you can customize your derps and preds, which will of course change the appearance, but it also increases their power score. And for anyone familiar with the derp ecosystem, power score is sort of the single metric that both determines your passive staking rewards and your fortification rewards if you fortify them in Outposts, but it'll also determine their sort of effectiveness in Adventures, right, through questing, right? So quests have difficulties. Power score is what allows you to complete them. And then I think the last layer, so just to recap, that's questing, that's customization, and the last layer is crafting and customization. The last layer is fame. And so fame is sort of a new point that's earned as you do things throughout the game. Fame is accumulated on the account. There's a fame leaderboard. And at the end of the season, everyone will get random rewards for fame. I don't think that's something that we've really put out there, but there's this random reward system that we've worked on for fame, but also everyone can convert their fame to power score on their characters. So if you have 5 derps, for example, you can say, I want to, and there's some limits here, but you can say, I want to take all of my fame, I'm going to dump it into this derp to increase their fame. And so, yeah, that's the MVP launch. That's the season 1 launch. And it's probably longer than it needed to be, but I think that's the high level of what we've got going on.
It's always that way. We get a lot of information at once, so that's why we love it. That's why we get excited for it. So absolutely, it's what we've been waiting for.
And the community knows too. Shout out to Nomi over there. But I think, like you said, like a TLDR, it's not. There's so much packed into it. It's kind of hard, almost just to like simplify it in a way, because you kind of got to get a look at it to really understand what it is. It's one of those things, and you guys have done just that for the content creators. I know we got a quick preview of it on DAP Central. Shout out to him on Saturday for you guys having their conversation. It was a really good conversation too, kind of a good overview of everything. But we saw the Adventures timeline, or the little Adventures logo over there, and we didn't dive into it, which I didn't know if you guys were or not. So we appreciate you guys getting a chance to share this here live with us for the first time. So with that being said, should we pull it up? Should we give the people some eye candy?
Bring it up.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's go. All right, guys. So a little backstory on this too is Dave had sent this out to some different content creators throughout the space, just to kind of give us like a little kind of overview on what's going on, to catch us up if we were out of the loop a little bit. But it did way more than that, because like you said, visually, there was a ton of stuff to kind of digest, and a ton of info and things that I didn't even know you guys were working on. So I was super appreciative for that, for the content creators, for you doing that. And let's jump into what this is. Like, did you, and you can like maybe a quick backstory. Did you plan on doing this, or is this just something you guys needed to do to kind of like overview for you guys, for yourself, on like kind of launching this as marketing stuff?
Yeah, so I think you teed it up really well. We put it together for content creators, and yeah, the joke is that it's not really a joke. I tweeted about this last week, that it's kind of a bit alarming at how like a lot of our content creators in the space have sort of seemingly taken a step back. I get it. I understand why, but we put this together, and I was like, cool, let's send it out to the content creators. It's like, cool, F35. Whoa. There wasn't a lot. There weren't many other people to send it to, but we put it together to share with content creators so that you guys could. I think it's a lot, like a big, massive respect to you guys to continue the grind. The amount of time and effort that goes into, I think, planning the content, being able to follow the projects that you cover. I think that takes a lot, especially with a project like Derps, where you're having to comb through tweets and Discord announcements. So putting everything together like this and giving it to you guys as a first preview, so that you can get up to speed with as little effort as possible. And then as we put it together, I'm like, wait a minute. By the way, this was like last week. I put this together last week. I was like, wait, this is so cool. We for sure have to share this more broadly, publicly. And so, but just an FYI for everyone, I think the plan is to go through it tonight, and we're going to share it publicly with everyone tomorrow, so everyone can click through it at their own speed.
Perfect. And I know it helped all of us out, especially for the people who may not be in derps like every day, because this is so, like you said, there's a lot to take in, but you guys do a great job explaining that. So we'll stop talking and we'll start clicking to get through this. But just even some of the artwork and fun things that you guys have all just thrown into this, I think a lot of people will appreciate. And I know some people will ask different questions about different traits and things like that, where you see Derpetonia, things like that. Was this all done by Bajewski, or who's doing the artwork for some of this stuff?
Throughout this presentation, there's a bit from both Golden and Bajewski. This one in particular, Golden's been doing the new GIFs, that we've been dropping. We have a really cool one that we might hold till next week. It's so good. But this one in particular, obviously, you guys will know, right? People all the time say Derptopia and other things, and so we recently released the GIF, the Behold My Stuff GIF, and this character came from there. So this one's Golden, but we'll see a mix from both of them.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
So I mean, I know we touched on it before when you were on last year about kind of, or maybe a few months ago, I can't remember exactly when it was, maybe last fall, about building a brand. That's when we had the famous gang thumbnail and stuff like that. But where you guys were kind of like, we're not just an NFT project, we're more than that. And so you guys are kind of reiterating that. I see quite a bit. Is that something you guys are really starting to feel like? I mean, obviously with the animations and that trailer right there, it definitely feels more than just like, hey, I got some NFTs in my wallet. You definitely feel more like a entertainment brand, if you will.
Yeah, 100%. It's something that if we're not careful, I'll launch into it and we'll eat up an hour just discussing that in particular. But I just had a conversation a couple days ago with someone who from the space, a pretty notable person who from the Cardano NFT space that doesn't hold derps, and they were asking like, how can you call yourself an entertainment brand? And so I haven't discussed it in a while, but you're right. We sort of positioned ourselves, we framed ourselves as an entertainment brand. And it was interesting to the way that I would describe it to someone who isn't familiar with derps is the same way that someone else described it to me. They're like, whether we're comfortable with telling people that's what we are or not, that is what we've built. It's a different approach to entertainment, which is one of the really cool, interesting, beautiful things about Web3 and the NFT space, is it's giving us a way to, maybe approach something that, sort of these incumbent, an existing industry, and think about how we can approach it in a new way. And so I will say that while it's very tough, and when I had that conversation with that person, it's very tough to say, here's exactly why we're an entertainment brand and here's what we're doing to be able to get there. I think we're on a path right now. We're on a journey. And in order for us to look like an entertainment brand that you may recognize from outside of Web3, there's a lot more work. There's a lot more journey that we have to get through. A lot more sort of progression down this path that we have to get through before I think people who aren't familiar with Derp Birds will look at that and understand and recognize that is what they're going toward. They're definitely an entertainment brand. So I will say, I'm rambling a bit, but I'll say that for sure, the way that we view derps and the way that we view adventures is that it is allowing us to execute, to basically realize more of that vision that we have for derps to become an entertainment brand.
Have they seen any of your content or even joined the Discord? I mean, that alone is just entertainment in itself. Just being part of that community is entertainment from what people produce and what you guys have shown as far as content goes.
I would say, people on the internet, they don't do anything, read or do any research beforehand. They just ask questions because they want people to spoon feed it to them. But I think, if you've been paying attention from far away or close, I think this will start to kind of come to fruition with adventures as you see a little bit more. But I want to touch on the branding of this. And then, so we kind of talked to TLDR, what adventures is. And from here, this kind of leads us into this new thing that you guys is simply called platform. And I don't know how much you want to elaborate into this and why this is such a big thing, but it was a big part of this this presentation.
I'll try to, because the next few slides here are all about platform, I'll try not to talk about too much here. But basically, I think what's really important, and it's not important to everyone. Like if you're just here for the entertainment, of derps, then who cares? Like platform doesn't really matter. It's not a big deal. But because we are in the Web3 space, and because we have people who are both collectors and love the projects and love the entertainment, but they also, people approach NFTs and they view it as investments. One of the things that's always been really difficult for us, and is difficult for every project, especially projects that are tight on a budget, is basically building something, shipping it, and then it ending, right? If you look at Rebirth, if you look at Pred V2, if you look at the Incubator, the Hatchery, the Pred Invasion, all of these things along the way, we've shipped them, and then that's it. It's over. The event ends. And we've like over time, we've played with how to draw them out and to make them more of an experience. So for example, Rebirth is still ongoing. It's coming up on 2 years that Rebirth has been running. Pred V2, we did this 5-minute where we automatically upgraded a Pred every 5 minutes. And it was this ongoing sort of entertaining event for us to all participate in and observe. But once it ended, and we're back to their Outpost. We launched Outpost, and we have continuously shipped new features, new structures, new updates and things. But it's the collection, the mint happened almost a year ago, whether you can believe that, in October of last year. And the event ended. And so when we started on adventures we started talking about adventures almost 2 years ago, and we had even built some of adventures. And in January or end of last year, beginning of this year, we realized if we build this thing and as it is, as we had been thinking about it, we were going to ship it, and that's it. It's going to end. It's going to be an experience that people go through, and then it ends. And then we're back to starting from scratch again. And so to sort of put a bow on this, as we started looking at adventures and what we had and what our goals were, and sort of coming into our own and accepting, like, we're an entertainment brand. That's what we're trying to do. We came out of the Outpost mint, we evaluated where we were, and we looked at adventures and like, man, we really cannot afford to build this as it is. It will sink us because we're going to build another experience that's going to end, and then we're going to have to restart again. We're going to start building the next thing. And so what this is, what we're about to look at, is how we took, it's not how we took it, but it's really an explanation of what we're calling just simply platform. We've sort of simplified a lot of things here. It is the engine that allows adventures to be possible. It's the engine that that is responsible for us being able to launch the game experience that is adventures. And so platform is really, and we'll see if you want to jump to the next slide. It is really just a set of capabilities, and you'll see in that paragraph there. It's a set of capabilities that allow us to increase the speed at which we deliver the types of roadmap deliverables that we're known for, while being, and it allows us to do that much more quickly. And so again, that must sound like a bunch of just techno babble, but really it's just allowing us to deliver much more of what we're known for, these entertaining, rewarding, interactive, fun experiences. And it allows us to do that, with a lot more speed, less cost.
I was going to say
not just speed, it's the efficiency too, which it really then in turn means you can make more of it. Because if you're able to make more of it and get it out faster, then you get that return faster to keep supporting it. Plus, just
I want to jump in on that because and I'm going to be doing a lot of that. But the really cool thing is you just, and I don't want to go too deep in some other direction here, but when you think about like what is technology, right? Technology is in the ability to increase output for an equal amount of input, right? Go back to prehistoric times. People were digging holes with a rock, right? And we developed tools. Eventually we got to shovels, and that one person could dig more holes than what would have taken 10 people previously. We have bulldozers now, or explosives, and you can dig really huge holes. The point I'm making is that what really all this is it's utilizing technologies, allowing us to increase our output for an equal amount of input, or it allows us to keep it allows us to maybe even keep the outputs the same, which I don't think that's what we want to do. And it frees up energy for us to be able to put elsewhere. And so again, I'm taking this way too off the main course here, but really it's all about increasing efficiency, increasing capabilities, allowing us to do more stuff.
Me and TJ were discussing too back there. We think about in like the video game content world, especially as like battle passes and things became big, was there were seasons in video games, there was content deliverables, and it basically, gamers, right? As soon as something gets released, they grind the shit out of it until there's nothing left to do. And then they're like, hey, when's the next one? And then as developers, as anybody who's like, I can't keep up with this demand right now. There's no way we're going to be able to give you what you need and satisfy that same itch that you guys are craving right now. We have to pace it out. But the technology behind the scenes, which you guys is so why it doesn't sound like a fun thing to talk about, but what you guys are describing here is that you've got something on the back end that allows you guys to keep up with that demand, to be efficient with that time, to keep up with it, whether people like it or not. It can reason their expectations. They're not going to be able to, and they're going to have those people who are going to fly through the stuff and want more. So I think this is such a huge, like you said, platform to have in the background that allows you guys to push that content quicker and quicker. Like having this on the front end is so much more, and realizing this right now before you launch this, I think it's a huge thing to have compared to you get the first thing out and then people eat it up too quick, and then you're like, all right, what do we do next? We got to keep up.
Exactly.
So yeah, shout out to you and the platform thing. I'm sure we can look more into this over here. And I loved some of the graphics, like you said, over here. Somebody mentioned this a little earlier. I guess we're going to see this throughout the thing. Somebody mentioned it. Will Derp Apes and Derplings be able to quest too over there, I think?
Yeah, it's a good question. And the answer is yes. So at launch, for this, what we're calling the season 1 launch, the MVP, Derplings and Derp Apes are viewed as support characters in the ecosystem. So the way that you'll be able to use them is you will need a Derp Bird or a Pred to initiate the primary quest content, like going on a campaign, scouting, or research doesn't require any characters. So when you're doing those campaigns or you're doing the scouting content, as I think I mentioned in the intro, like there's a power score requirement, a difficulty requirement. And so the way that you would use a difficulty requirement to complete those quests, the way that you would use Derplings and Derp Apes is sending them as support characters. So you can send multiple characters on a quest. By sending additional support characters, it brings up your total power score, allow you to complete more difficult content. That's at launch. What I'll tell you is one of the things that was a really difficult challenge to get right at this launch was how many characters can be used for these quests. It's difficult to get that right because we want the content to be somewhat challenging. We don't want it to just, everyone be able to just steamroll it. We want it to be a challenge for not harder holders, but for larger holders. But we also don't want to exclude smaller holders. We want them to be able to complete some content too, if not all of as much content as possible. And so it's very difficult for us to find that right balance so that it doesn't make again, NFTs ultimately are pay to win. What we're trying to do is to sort of level the playing field to make sure that everyone can participate, and that as long as you're participating, you are winning. So if you have Derplings, if you have Derp Apes, I will say that, and we looked at the data, the average holder, almost every holder has some Derp Apes and some Derplings. They may be weighted one direction or the other. They have a lot of Derp Birds or a lot of Preds, and then not a lot of Derplings, but there's almost always some balance there. And so, again, I'm rambling, but the point is, yes, you'll be able to use them. And post-launch, and to tie this into platform a bit, is the whole point in platform is for us to be able to push new content, new types of quests, new types of adventures, much more easily with less cost, less time. And so we know that early on, one of the first, and by the way, and I think I say this somewhere in the presentation here, we're already developing the next layers of content, the next things that are going to come out through the platform. And one of the earliest layers of content that we want to release is going to be one that sees Derplings and Derp Apes getting a little more utilization, a little more love. And it's going to be content that's specialized for them. So again, I'll probably say that a million times on tonight's stream, but it's really important to drive that point home. This base experience of adventures is just the base experience. And the reason why we have platform, as we're seeing on here on the screen, is so that, as you just said, Tommy, a few minutes ago, we don't have to basically start from scratch, redevelop everything from scratch, and go back to the drawing board every time. It's really about being able to push out more content and make sure we're able to get more of the community involved.
It's a sense of security too for the holders, because they know that more stuff is going to be coming out. So once they finish, they know more is just going to be coming. So they're not wondering, oh, when's the next announcement for this coming out? Nope, it's going to be coming. Don't worry.
Exactly.
And we got a vehicle to be able to do that and meet the demand you guys are at. Yeah, I think that's such a smart way to look at it, because a lot of times, like you said, people ship the product. You guys realized that last year that, hey, we could have launched this, we could have done this, but we're going to hit a wall and then we're going to have to restart over again. So instead, we'll invest in the technology, the infrastructure behind the scenes. They'll allow us to keep up with that and keep this going. So I love that. I love that you guys are already ahead of the game right there. But yeah, that's platform. I know we're going to keep talking about that. And again, shout out to the images over here. I think this is one of my new favorites over here. You've got Gordo. This looks like a Golden's type of drawing over here, huh?
Yeah, 100% Golden. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
He's a big fan. I know we talked about this a bit backstage, but the if you don't know this character Gordo, literally it's a community meme basically that came from one particular trait of the Pred V2 collection that Golden did. And so Golden's a huge fan of Gordo, and this one's all him.
Yeah, shout out to Grimmy. I know he's the one that brought it in to us when we've seen it. We'll show something a little later on another Gordo out there. Shout out to that. And to keep that out of the way, let's get into some adventures. Let's dive into some of the things that you're going to be able to do in here and get a little bit new sneak peeks. By the way, I love the logo for this. Great that you got all collections in here. This animated stuff, somebody, I think Malau, however you want to say it, it's always Malu now. He was like, where'd you get that dirt from over there? I didn't realize when I was clicking through this that some of this stuff was animated. I went back and did a relook at some of it. And you guys show it off in the Adventures trailer too. Kind of this, your action slots that are locked between Preds and Derps. What is this the start of campaign thing, or where do we want to start here with this?
This one's really just a landing for sort of kicking off what Adventures is about. And you asked at the beginning, what's the TLDR, and that's what this slide is. It's questing, crafting, customization, and fame. This is showing the app home, and the idea here, which I hope is very intuitive once people actually get into the app, is you land in the app, you can see your action slots there as you're showing on the screen. And really that's really the action slots are just tracking what it is that you have going on. So there's a set number of action slots per account. anytime that you go do a campaign, anytime that you go do a scouting quest, which we'll talk a lot about scouting, I think, it's gonna tie up one of those action slots. And so we've tried to put enough action slots in there, 30, that again, larger holders feel like they can make use of more of their characters. But what we don't want is for smaller holders to feel like, oh, I need all 30 of these. There's no need to unlock all of them if you don't need them. But the idea, you would land on the home screen, you would say, I'm going to go do derp content, or you can't see it, it's slightly off screen, or I'm going to go do pred content. That would bring you to their base, the derp base, the pred base. You see it in the trailer, the cave that the preds are in. And from there, you could decide, cool, I've clicked on derp, I want to go research, I want to go scout, or I want to go do campaigns. And last note I'll say on that is, the idea, as we've just talked about with platform, is that the content will scale. There will be lots of new adventure types. And so you can already imagine, we just had a question about, can I use my Derplings and my Derp Apes? And I said that we want to release content that is tailored for them as well. While they are support characters, we want them to have more uses than just strictly as support for the other content. So this will evolve. Even this screen will evolve. Like, how do I get to the specific content for Derplings or specific content for Derp Apes? But then, I'm going to keep saying this. Like, we already have additional layers of content that are being worked on already, and being able to go to that Derp base and say, cool, the season 1 launch was scouting, researching, campaigns. Now this new type of content, this new, some of the stuff that we have in works right now. Now there's a way to get to that content from those faction bases as well. So this is really just the jumping in point.
Yeah, I love that. And any plans? So basically 30 slots is the max right now. And I don't know if you guys ever have plans, if you want to expand that, or people can buy into that later. But that sounds like it can also throttle some of the larger holders just to kind of keep them from going too crazy.
Exactly. And I'll say, because we have more people who are going to participate than are going to see this. I'll try to hit. There's a few points here I should hit. One is we've already had questions from a few people who we've talked to behind the scenes around how this works to get their input on. And the first question that everyone asks is, wait, if I only have 30 slots, and I want to get more out of that, can I just create another account? And so I think we'll see some people, some large holders, who want to create other accounts. Now, again, there's an automatic penalty to that, in that they're going to be splitting their fame earnings across 2 accounts, which isn't optimal. But we're totally fine if we see that happening. I think the question's going to come up a lot, so we'll go ahead and address it here, that we're totally fine if that happens. Like, again, NFTs are pay to win. What we're trying to do is to create a base experience that's balanced for the majority of people who are participating. That means if you're Araphon and you have 800 Derp Apes, it's not going to be perfectly balanced for you. And if you have one Derp Bird or one Pred, it's not going to feel perfectly balanced for you. It's very difficult to find the right balance. I think we've done a really good job at finding that balance. It'll get better as we add additional content layers. But that's something I want to put out there, is that we for sure expect that some people will say, you know what, I'm Araphon, I have 800 Derp Apes, I'm going to create multiple accounts and play that way. That's fine. One other quick thing I want to mention, though, is you asked if we might see a future where there's more action slots. The answer is yes. And then also it's worth noting, and maybe I put that somewhere in this presentation. There will, at start, all campaign quests use 1 action slot and all scouting uses 1 action slot. I can't see that changing in the next 2 weeks. But because of platform, I can change it myself without any engineering input, which is super badass. Nice. But with some of the future layers of content, we will for sure have content that utilizes multiple action slots. And so again, out of the box, platform already allows me to do that. It allows me to create a scouting quest, and it asks me how many action slots should this quest. And again, I'm probably too excited about those types of things, but I've been 3 years of having to beg engineers for every single little thing. And now I have a UI, I have a way of being able to control those, pull those levers. And so, there's a lot more we can talk about action slots. And just, I know I'm rambling, but one more quick note, because Nomi asked on Twitter today about the cost of them.
Just snuck up on me. Sorry, boys.
Oh, good.
Well, I'm just going to throw it out there. For action slots, everyone starts with a set number on their account, unlocked by default. You can unlock more through campaigns. And the idea with them is that so there's a few states. If they're open, that means you can use them. If they're unlocked, that means they can be purchased. They're very cheap. The plan right now is that they're 8 ADA each. and then some of them can be purchased with just Derp dollars. And so we try to keep the cost very low so that everyone can participate. But you can unlock more of them through campaigns, which opens them up for purchase. And then you can kind of see it in the bottom corner there of the screen, the little diamond, the ones that have diamonds on them. Those are automatically opened up if you're holding a perfect specimen or a pure pred. So they're not unlocked. You don't have to purchase them. They're just immediately pulled into the open state, which means if you hold a perfect specimen, you get 3 slots that are immediately pulled into the open state. And that's for up to 9 action slots. So that may be a lot to take in, but basically, you get free stuff if you have your perfect superiors.
Nice.
Well, I just like how you continue to roll back in, the entire kind of suite of assets you have, and then continue to give, people that have held this long, or now, or at least if someone's choosing to pay in and buy in for one of those more elite derps or drapes. I like that you're giving back a lot to that, especially the people that, like you said, have that many and have held that long. Not getting excluded, not getting left behind by next stages, but continuing to really bring that into the project.
Exactly. It's very, very, and again, I will say that historically, right, the Derp Birds community will know, we have all these special traits, and Kenny, aka Smokey, asked there a few minutes ago, are there specific traits that are needed for adventures? And at MVP launch, there's none of that. But what we've tried to do is things like perfect specimens and pures are very special in the ecosystem. Historically, it's very difficult to build a specific benefit for one particular trait, right? It takes all of this additional coding logic that you have to write to basically say, oh, you have a master key, you get this benefit, right? It takes so much time. With platform, we're able to do that. We're not doing any of that MVP where you need a specific trait for a piece of content. But as Malou said in chat as well, we could do something like buff specific content where there's content that's sort of accessible, or maybe another way of thinking about it is you get a benefit for having a particular trait like a master key, for example. And again, platform makes all of that all very easy. Master key utility is fake news. It was, but it was that was a rumor that was created by the community.
I just want to know when my derp eggs are going to be usable, man. I went off the floor. So you put a tweet out about the incubator or eggs or something, and I just was like, "Yep, I'm going back."
Okay, go back 2 slides.
To go back, okay. Oh, we got a technology Tommy over here. Let's go back.
I think you can just arrow on your keyboard. Okay, sorry, 3 slides.
Technology Tommy.
He's the controller. This is a game with the keyboard.
Okay, 1 more slide.
One more. In your game with Tommy, and it's like, what button is it? And he says,
okay. So the reason why I tweeted Incubator, I planned a series of tweets where I was going to say Incubator, battery, achievement system, and it was literally going to all lead to say that all of these past roadmap deliverables were doable, are now basically things that could have been developed by the platform that we built for adventures. And so I started that, and the first one was the incubator. Yeah, and then I go
just fell off. You let everybody buy eggs like myself. So now I'm hanging on to eggs that maybe one day with platform will have some use. You never know. Cool. All right. So yeah, we mentioned some of the stuff over here. As far as questing was one of the first things, and obviously one of the large things you're going to be doing throughout here. You mentioned 3 different things: the campaign, scouting, and research. With I'm glad you mentioned that about the unlock slots of like how to get those is to go through the quest. So in a traditional sense of like gaming, your campaign, it's the main storyline. It's the kind of linear progression that you would have to go through to unlock a lot of stuff in there. Is that where the meat of like the content it really is through the campaign, or can you kind of explain? I guess we could start through campaign and obviously make our way through scouting and research.
Yeah, just as quickly as I can. The campaigns, so all 3 quest types sort of fill a distinct role, and I think the easiest one to wrap your head around is research. Research is you spend some time researching and you learn blueprints. The way that it's distinct from campaigns and scouting is that research doesn't require the use of any characters. So again, I said a few minutes ago, everything's pay to win, but we've tried to create something we think is very balanced and a lot of people can participate in. And so research is one of the ways that we're doing that with MVP launch by saying, hey, if you don't have 50 derps or 50 preds or whatever, you can still spam the shit out of research. There is no reason that everyone who wants to participate and get ahead isn't filling up all their action slots. Well, sorry, it doesn't use action slots. That everyone is not using all of their research capacity, which is a different resource you have to manage, through research. Just research, because it requires no characters. So everyone should be, those are pro tips there for you. Everyone should be just spamming research because it requires 0 character use. Sorry.
So if I don't have a single derp asset, an outpost, or any of the characters, I can still participate by logging in and just researching to get materials.
Yes, you could. You could do that. I don't know why you would, but yeah, you know,
maybe you're planning to buy. You don't have the money right now, but you want to be able to play.
Yeah, get ready, prepared.
Yeah, you're stacking mats right there. Are those mats? Are any of that stuff? Is any of that stuff tradable at all? I don't know if that's a question that can be answered right now.
It's a great question. So blueprints that you get from research are all account based. So you can't trade them, you can't sell them. And again, I'll keep saying this. This is for the season 1 content.
We go find the research tab here.
It's just as easy for us to make blueprints NFTs, so they could be, they could be tradable and whatnot.
I'm going.
Could they be like BOP or BOE, like bind on equipped or bind on pickup?
You could think of it a lot like that. Is basically these are like bind on pickup, basically like blueprints are basically bind on account, or BOAs or bind on pickup, where it's basically an account locked thing. So once you get a blueprint, you can't trade it, you can't sell it, you can use it as many times as you want. It's not a single use item. But
with platform, you could change that,
dude. Yeah. We'll give you sales commission, dude. You go shill because you already got it. But basically, yes, with platform, again, what we've tried to do is create an experience that's balanced for as many people as possible at launch. And so the thing that we were worried about is that to try to balance blueprints is, again, we don't want a situation where only large holders can just run away with everything right out of the gate. So that if you're someone who supports derps just as much as the large holders, but in your own way, you have 8 or 10 derps and you're like, well, shit, I'm so outgunned, I can't do anything. And so again, we've tried to create these areas where if you're a large holder, you can really flex into that. But if you're a smaller holder, you don't feel as if you're completely left behind in every way. And so, yeah, with blueprints, we could just as easily make them, BOE, I guess, like, you buy them from another player and then, single use or something. But that's research is blueprints. Uses no characters. And one other thing worth mentioning is there's a resource called research capacity. It's also account wide. So it means when you start, you can decide, I'm going to go do research for derps. I'm going to go do research for preds. And you can do up to 3, you can have up to 3 research capacity. Which means you can be doing 3 researches at a time. You can decide, I'm going to do 2 preds and 1 derps, or however you want to do it. So that's research.
Gotcha. Okay. And then I don't know if on the next slide is part of campaigns or not. Let's see. I guess this will tie right into the campaign part of this. Maybe the scouting and all that. Your campaigns obviously is pretty much your story mode. Is that kind of some of the trailer content that we saw through that launch trailer you guys just did?
Exactly. Campaigns really are, you just use the phrase that never even occurred to me, is it's just a story mode. The really cool thing about the campaigns is that's really where you're going to see us push like the story and the IP development. They're narrated, which I think it sounds so cool. There's a couple other surprises in there in terms of like visuals that we've done with the cinematics. And the last thing I'll say about campaigns so we can sort of move on is that campaigns are your way towards additional unlockables, like additional action slots and more research capacity. So it's one other thing I keep saying this. One other thing that's really important about campaigns is that if you fell, right, the campaigns are broken down by chapters, and then quests, right? So you do the Derp campaign, it has 4 chapters, and then each chapter has multiple quests. You can fail those and still go to the next quest, because we want everyone who wants, you won't get the reward, but what you can still progress through the campaign. So you can hear this, you can listen to the story, you can sort of understand the story. So again, we want as many people to participate as possible. You don't have the rarest assets, you can still experience the story, you just won't get the rewards. And then just real quick, scouting, so we can put a cherry on this, is scouting is what I would say is the grind content. Because crafting is really at the core of the adventure's launch. We're all going to be crafting tons of traits. The limiting factor for crafting is probably always going to be, in fact, it is always going to be crafting materials. You're always going to need more crafting materials than what you have. And again, unless you're just hoarding them and never crafting, and so scouting is your primary method of getting crafting materials. All scouting has a 4-hour duration. again, we've tried to do that so that for people who really want to participate more, they'll have things to check in on more frequently without making it, you need this like 5-minute check-in things. It's 4 hours. And so I suspect, again, if you're someone who's like really trying to optimize right now, I suspect that for those who are really trying to get to the rare traits and craft them as early as possible, you're going to need to get the blueprint, and that has some luck involved with researching. But scouting is going to be where you'll be spending most of your action slots. You're just going to be spam scouting, refreshing, spam scouting. So
nice.
That's a breakdown.
People already getting their strategies together. It's crazy.
I love that right there. That's going to be I'm the grinder right there. So that's,
Tommy, I think his timer set. He's going to find it first.
Scouting is going to be a huge thing for me. So yeah, let's move through. And I know it sounds like there's a lot to do, right? And somebody asked, and I know I asked, when I was reading through this, like how much stuff can we really, how much time is this going to really go through? And you guys illustrate this here in this slide that you guys say that the average player is fully customizing their characters through questing, crafting their own to take roughly 3 months.
That's awesome. I think that's what I'm told. I think, and by the way, I would define like the average player or holder to have 6 to 10 assets, whether that's two Preds, a few Derplings, whatever. That's sort of around our average. And so, and it kind of scales, because if you think about it, if I have 2 Derps and I want to fully customize them, I only need to do enough content and get enough materials to be able to fully customize, right? Craft new ears, new head, new eyes, new tail, new body, and so on for those 2 Derps. If I have 50, I can get a lot more done, but it's going to take me much longer to fully customize them. So right. It's kind of consistent, for everyone.
It scales, yeah.
Exactly. It scales pretty well. And again, I'll say it once again, that's for launch. The idea with this is like this initial content that's in the game at launch doesn't end. Right, the season will end, so earning fame, which we'll talk about, that will end, but these campaigns will be there forever. Scouting will be there forever. The blueprints that are in at launch will be there forever. Some of them have limits to how many times they can be crafted, but the stuff will be in forever. And then we will continue layering more and more content on. So there's going to be more and more stuff to do. So we wanted to put this estimate out there for 3 months, but something that I may have tweeted, I can't remember. If not, it's pure alpha, is I know I said it already on the stream, but I'll reiterate, is that we already have new layers of content that are in progress. And our goal, I don't want to, commit ourselves to anything right away, but our goal is to get out the first new layer of content before season 1 ends, before 90 days, after launch. And so I think there will be more content for the average person. They're going to be still working through the first content, gearing up their derps and preds, and then a new layer of content is going to drop. And that's our goal.
Nice. I love that right there. I mean, like you said, in Web3, our mind, even just in general right now, our capacity to like stay focused on stuff is we consume content so quick. So that's what I was pretty surprised to say, average person can take about a few months. That seems like quite a bit of stuff to do then. Which is I was really impressed with when I was reading through that. So, and yeah, like you said, whether you have 100 derps or 5 derps, it's really, you're going to be able to scale accordingly, depending on how much time you really want to put into it. And I imagine if you collect 100 derps right now, you're probably pretty invested in the ecosystem to the point where, you're going to spend that time doing that. What'd you just put over there? Just wait for my opportunity. Oh,
no, this one, the devs are sweating now. Thanks, Dave.
Oh yeah.
Geek gave me the launch date, so
well, now Dave's ready. Like, I've been holding this shit in for so long right now. I'm so ready to talk about this stuff. Yeah, so that's awesome. And you said, all the 4 character collections are going to be able to be implemented into this. So your primaries, though, just to be clear, if you guys are wanting to participate to get the most out of it, the derps and pred characters are the 2 to have, right?
That's right. And again, we will always try to maintain this balance of derps and preds being sort of the stars of the show. But that's the balance we're aiming for. I think there'll be times where the support characters sort of do get new layers of content that brings them up closer to where they feel more like primary characters, and then the next layer of content will sort of adjust that balance again.
You could get the Derp Ape expansion, the Derpling expansion, so you can get a little heavier for that, or maybe reverse the roles for those, right? Where you have like more weight for those supporting characters platform, right? It can do that. It can flip those.
I'll say something that there's a lot of speculation around particular, let's say, significant major events for support characters. That's how I would describe it. There's a lot of speculation around if those events. I think the Derpers, the hardcore community will understand what that means. There's a lot of speculation around if those particular events for support characters could happen, and the answer is platform would allow it. Like I know that must mean like, if you're not familiar with the Derp Birds ecosystem, that must be the most cryptic, nonsensical statement ever. But I think for people who are really dialed in, they'll read between the lines there and see that, maybe hear what I'm saying. But yeah, so again, everything is, I don't want to say everything's subject to change, because what we have, to sort of take a step away from adventures for a second, one thing that we have made mistakes on in the past, and sort of the joke with the Incubator tweet and people buying derp eggs, we sort of flip-flopped a few times in the past, where we're like, eggs have no use, eggs have a new use. And what I don't want, it's difficult, because what we always want to create is something that's entertaining, dynamic, and fun. It's very easy for us to focus so much on that you forget that there's money involved here. And yeah. I'm so sort of humbled by the insane support that we get, that that people show derps, and like people are spending very real money on these assets. And while we're trying to create something that is entertaining and fun and interactive and rewarding, that sort of characteristic of the NFT space makes it especially challenging to grapple with. Yeah. And so I do know, like, sometimes I'll have a couple of drinks, I'll come on a show, and then I'll say something that would lead people to be like, oh shit, there's gonna be a new use for derp eggs, I'm gonna go sweep a ton of derp eggs. And while that's fun and it's exciting and we make jokes about it, we're trying to get to a point where, like, we got to be a little more careful about what we say around these things. And so yeah, I would say if you're ever unsure, if people are on the fence, like, oh, should I go do this or do that, I'd say the NFT space moves slow these days, right? It's a beautiful thing. I love it. A lot of the sort of insane volatility has moved on to meme coins, and the NFT space is sort of chilled out, and it's really enjoyable to me. I think you see people joining the Derp Birds ecosystem now. They're taking their time. They're reading the guidebook. Shout out to Lil Thunder, who's really done this, amazing. He read the whole guidebook. He got familiar with everything. There's no reason to rush anymore. Like, take your time, understand what's going on, talk to, OGs in the community who might have a better understanding of what's going on. And there's no reason to act, rash. Just take your time.
I heard you mention eggs. So what you're saying is season 2 is gonna have a lot of eggs.
Buy eggs. I don't know what you guys are doing. Just go
buy eggs. Got it. All right.
Incubator 2.0, new Derpling art confirmed. Yeah,
there you go. Heard it here first.
All right, no, don't do that. But yeah, I think we've touched on a lot of these things in and out throughout conversation here now. Crafting, I know this is going to be the bread and butter, like you said, for a lot of people outside of just the scouting to get a lot of this stuff. But this is the part of it that when you think about, I mean, even just look at like mutant apes, right? Back in the day, that was like, okay, my things can mutate, they can change, I can have new traits, my existing traits changed a little bit. Look how cool that was. And throughout time, transformation events and upgraded art have always been a big thing in NFTs. But now, like, when you mint the NFT, that was part of the fun of like the gamble. Like, all right, I'm going to put that in, and hopefully I get that rare trait. Hopefully I land that good aesthetic combo. That's going to be valuable. Now it kind of throws a wrench into that plan a little bit, where it's like, I can pick my traits, I can craft stuff that I can make them look cooler. How is that going to work in like you said, a pay to win kind of ecosystem? And I think you guys have a really cool dynamic here that you can go ahead to explain. But crafting, I think what can you say on this? Because this seems to be something I know a lot of people are excited for.
Yeah, I think if you don't mind jumping to the next slide, I'll kind of, I think it starts to tee up. Oh, okay. So let's come back to this one. If you don't mind jumping ahead one more, because I want to, sorry, one more slide. Oh wait, no, it is customization. Okay, let's start there in customization, because I think the point you just touched on is the major one, which is customization is really difficult, I think, to get right. And I'm not going to say like we have perfected it and we've done better than everyone else, but I think the benefit that we've had by taking our time getting customization is we have been able to observe how others have approached it, and to look at the feedback they've received, the challenges that they've had. And I think, to your point, what customization does that ends up being a major backfire is you have these traits, right? You minted a derp back in 2021, and then you rebirthed it in 2022, and it has this perfect combination of really cool aesthetic things. Or you got deity traits, right, which are legendary. They're super rare, and then all of a sudden the team drops a bunch of new rare traits, which sort of devalue, and it makes less significant and special the existing legendary traits, the deity traits, for example. And so what we've tried to do is there is no perfect solution for all of those things. But the other thing that has to be, I think, considered is that, have you looked at Bored Apes in the last 12 months? They're hideous. Like, it's not like we're talking about classical art that just seems to maintain its beauty and its significance over time. You look at classical art and there's an appreciation for how advanced, how modern, how forward thinking it was for its time. There's this whole lens of time that you have to consider classical art. And I know there is a lot of amazing NFT artwork that is very artwork based, that we should appreciate it for its artistic sort of significance. That's not what Derps is about. While we have a lot of really badass, cool derp traits and a lot of things that are super significant, I think what's really important to realize is when you look at again, whether it's Bored Apes or Mutant Apes or D-Gods or whatever, is that after you look at them for 2 years, I think it's nostalgic for us to be like, oh my God, you have this perfect combination of those traits. I think for outsiders, it's just like, dude, yeah, I've seen those Derp Birds for 2 years on my timeline. It's not that fun. It's not that exciting. And I think even for existing holders, you look at your same derps for 2 years and you don't really have the same desire to go flex them on Twitter, right? Yeah. You've been looking at them for 2 years and they lose a bit of their, the excitement. And so what we've tried to do is to balance those two things. There's the nostalgia factor of like, oh my God, I have rare deity traits and look at this perfect combination, this bird that looks super cool. We want something that's new and exciting and fresh for both existing holders who've been holding their birds for coming up on 3 years, but also for newcomers who want to feel like, oh, I'm here for the new thing. I'm here for the new traits. I'm getting to experience this for the first time, like all of you OG Derp Birds community experienced 3 years ago. We want to create that experience. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that, like, that's a problem in the space. It's a problem in NFT space. And so I think, again, we don't have to read these slides, but we try to outline the goals that we had. Protect the significance of the base traits. If you have those deity traits, those mad scientist traits, and so on, what we don't want to do is introduce new deity-like traits that make it seem as if anyone can get deity traits. We don't want to do that. We didn't want customization to be purely visual. We wanted there to be, because a part of the Derp Birds ecosystem is to reward people for participating and doing things. And then we wanted to find ways, as we say, that to raise the bar for customization, to make it more than just, I just changed my visuals and I just, I've just changed out my artwork. And so those were the goals. I know I'm rambling a bit here, but like just the amount of back and forth. I think of all the problems we had to solve, and the one that we were the most sort of, I don't want to say nervous about, but the ones that we were the most sort of, we tried to be really cautious about. And we've been having discussions around customization since the beginning of 2022. When we launched Pred, we thought we'll never lock this collection policy. And that was long before people were talking about it. It was before the D-Gods artwork upgrade, right? We started thinking about back then, we would never lock this policy. This is pre-SIP 68, because we want people to be able to come in and change their Preds one day and change that artwork. And so this is something we've been thinking about for over 2 years, this problem. And I think what we landed on, again, there's no perfect solution, but I think what we landed on broadly addresses the issues that I tried to highlight. So I don't know if that makes sense to anyone, but that's what we're trying to approach here. Or trying to solve for.
It's a lot for sure, but it's also very fascinating to see some of the insight, because I think, a lot of people, even with the great updates and stuff you guys do, it's cool to get, because I'm sure you would love to take the time to explain all the thought process behind all the decisions and reasons you guys come out with stuff. But a lot of times you're just so busy trying to get it to work and get it updated, move on to the next part, and then update the community and keep them involved. Is itself 2 full-time jobs. So it's great to kind of hear more of the background, I guess, like where this comes from, as opposed to when I just like read through this when it was sent over. It's really kind of, it's cool. It's like we have like kind of like the author's notes right there with us. I love hearing this.
Thanks, man. I'll just say quickly, 100%. I mean, the points where these get explained are the long ass threads on Twitter that a select few will read through, and then Discord announcements where I try to ram it down everyone's throat. Sorry. But yeah, I really try to like make everyone care about these things, but it's really fun to get to come on here and talk about like, yeah, it wasn't just change out the visuals. There were all of these things that we really tried to address that could have backfired.
Well, you mentioned like an interesting point, which I hadn't really considered, is when the NFTs came out, right? Like you said, that thrill of minting, that thrill of flexing your aesthetic character was a big thing. But we've been here for almost 3 years now. And like people are like, I'm tired of seeing that same profile. I'm like, it's not really that exciting to share anymore. I can't just go post my picture under somebody's thing who tweeted about my project anymore. I'm kind of getting tired of it. I hadn't really considered about that. And the whole thrill of a lot of the reasons why people reminted upgraded stuff, but not only to raise money, was because it was like the next logical step, is because the people who missed out on an initial pump from that, they don't get to experience that same joy, and they're paying a significantly higher price to get that feeling of collecting something like that. So when you were able to do new traits, of course you get a whole new group of people, a whole new timeline. Like you look at the people that are here now versus where in 2021, completely different dynamic of people. So how do you get them to, or how do you get new people to experience derps, like you said, from the OGs in a way that protects that base group without ruining their that nostalgia and also that collection that they've curated, versus this new group of people who want to flex this and just get into it now. So it's really cool to heir the difference between that too.
I had last fall, I went to see my my brother who has kids, and he has twin girls who were at the time they were 4.5 or 5 years old. And sorry, this was 2022 because we were still doing the rebirth artwork, and I had built a prototype that would allow me to switch out attributes, like basically testing, building different combinations of birds. And I was trying to connect with my 5-year-old. I'm not great with kids. I was trying to connect with these 5-year-old, little children, humans, and little derplings. And I was, I had my computer. I'm always working on derps, and they're like, "What's that?" And like I'm like showing them, and they had an absolute blast making their own birds. Like because I had all of the artwork. I had a prototype where they could change things out as they wanted. And so again, I know that's different from an NFT collector, right? We talked about like the significance of the nostalgia and the collector aspect and everything. We never want to, it's not the same thing if you're a 5-year-old child, but there was that point of like, they don't care about these derps, like as they come out, out of the box, like the way that they were minted. And while I don't view every non-derp holder as a 5-year-old child, I think that it allows us to introduce this sense of excitement and fun that you missed out on. We can't just Tommy, like we can't just drop new collections that allow people to mint. As much fun as that is, as much fun as Outposts were, that experience, we can't keep doing that. We need to move the target. We need to move the focus away from the character. No, I don't mean move the focus away from the characters, but I mean move the experience of getting to collect to the trait level. And we've done that. We've done that with trait collecting and stuff in our ecosystem. But now we can move that to a way that's scalable, and that's through crafting. And so before we move to crafting, if you jump ahead one more slide, I want to mention one more thing. The solutions that I won't read this, but and we sort of already talked through it. But the solutions to those 3 problems that we highlighted, the first one, protecting the base traits, we talked about that. Is there's not new deity traits. We're not going to introduce new deity traits. But the other way that we protect those base traits is to say that that completely threw me for a loop there, Derp. But the way that we protect those base traits is that the power score that you get off of equipping new traits is based on the base rarity of your derp to start. So for example, Tommy has a legendary, I have a common. We both craft the same new legendary trait. I throw that legendary trait on my common derp bird, and it gets, let's say, 3,000 power score increase. Tommy throws it on his legendary, and he gets 10,000 power score increase. And so this sort of protects the rarity to say, hey, there's still a very real reason why, if you're really serious about collecting in the derp ecosystem, you would want to own those more rare assets. But it doesn't kick the legs out from beneath the person who really can only go get commons or uncommon derps. They'll still be able to progress by crafting and equipping. Exactly. This is the perfect screen to jump to. And so again, what we don't want is to have the legendary eyes there and to feel as if like, oh, there's no reason for me to go buy this rare derp. I may as well just buy a common and go buy new traits, because by the way, the craftable traits are all NFTs. You can craft them and sell them on JPEG or the Derp Marketplace or way up. And that's another cool factor we'll jump back to on crafting. But so that's one of the solutions for protecting base traits, is a rare derp will get more power score increase from those new traits than a less rare derp. The other thing, which we're only doing a little bit of at the first launch, we're doing it heavily for Pred with the Pred faces, but we're doing it, and I don't know if Smokey's still here, but I'll say, like, we're doing it once for derps, and we did it with Smokey in mind. Is that the base traits, you can never get more of them, right? There's 50 something deity bodies in the Derp Birds collection. There will never be more deity bodies. You can't unequip those base traits and put them on other derps. They're stuck there. It's base traits. When you customize, you're basically putting traits on over the base trait, and so you'll never be able to get more deity traits. So one of the really cool things that we're doing, that I can't wait to do so much more of this, but we're doing some of it at launch, is, let's say you have a deity body on your derp, right? That's there's only 50 or something of those. Alex can tell me because he loves the deity body. But there's only 50 of those. One of the really cool things that we can do is, when you customize a character, you see your base traits, your gear, which increases your power score, and then there's optional slots for cosmetic. And all it does is changes the visual. We do that so that if you equip a gear, let's say you have a deity body and you equip a new body and you hate what it looks like, you can click into cosmetic and say, I want to use my deity body for the visual. I don't want to see this new gear. I don't like it. For sure, that's going to be Alex, by the way. He's only ever going to like the base traits. But you can also take a different trait that you've crafted and put it in that cosmetic slot. So you get a lot of ability to customize. Now, the point I'm making here, and the really cool thing about this, is it adds so much more fun to collecting the base traits, because what we're able to do is say, you have a deity body on your bird, or let's say this derp that you have here, you have the cyborg body. When you click into the cosmetic slot for that cyborg body, we could have cosmetic options that are only available if you have a cyborg base body.
Nice.
And what that means is, it means that, like, you're like, oh, I love what that body looks like. I'm going to go buy a derp with a cyborg body because I want access to that special cosmetic that can be equipped on that bird. So it allows us really to even make the base traits, to protect the base traits even more, and add even more, a lot more sort of reasons.
So essentially, the base score too is one of the more important score to have. Like, if you have a high base score, like you're saying, if you add those extra stuff to it, it's going to go up, it's going to skyrocket. If you have a low base score and you add a rare item or legendary item to it, it's going to increase it, but not as much if you had a higher base score to begin with.
Exactly. Yep.
Right. I was going to say, he also asked over here too, will customization also affect the derp dollars for DD per epic, or just the power score? And I'd imagine that would affect not only the power score, but your DD, because your power score is higher.
Exactly. If you don't know, the DD per epoch, whether it's passive staking or fortifying, is derived from power score. So again, we've said, I found a screenshot the other day of our website from 2021, the roadmap, and the very opening line is, we want to reward people who participate. The coolest thing about all of this is, again, it's all pay to win. We can only do so much to sort of combat that reality. But the really cool thing is, if you are participating, no matter where you're at in the ecosystem, you may have 2 derps, you may have 200. What you're doing is you're going to increase your power score. You're going to do that through earning fame and through customizing. By increasing your power score, you are increasing your passive rewards, your fortification rewards, and your efficiency in adventures content and beyond. Like, anything else. Power score is a proxy for everything. That's the reason why we distill everything down into power score. So we have a single metric to use. And so, yes, increasing your power score increases your passive reward, your passive staking, your fortification rewards, and your ability to do more content with that same character.
So in a sense too, in a way to like pay to earn, it's also play to earn in a way, because of somebody who already bought in on a couple derps and they don't have quite the money, or they don't want to spend any more to buy additional derps. They play the story mode, they craft their materials, they upgrade their craft new traits. Essentially, that's increasing their derp dollars per epic, and in turn providing more derp to them if they choose to convert it from derp dollars to derp. If they want to sell that, whatever they want to do with that. That's a way for somebody to go ahead and progress too. A different, like I said, one of the layers, I guess, if you think about it in that way.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, so as far as protecting base traits go, I love that, where you're not erasing, essentially like swapping one of those legendary things in and out. You are adding onto that that slot from that, which I know you guys kind of popped up right here to get a little visual of that. And also seeing that there's multiple variants of things you can create as well. So 80 new traits, more than 225 variants released. I know we were chatting about variants on something else a little bit back behind this. So essentially what you're able to do when you go to craft this different material is it'll increase your power score by a different range. Essentially, I don't know what that means, but and there's also different variants of the specific new traits.
So now that we've talked about customization, crafting is, I think, it is the real focus of the season 1 launch. I think it's the most, the trailer, as cool as it is, does not even do it like remote justice to how cool crafting actually is in the actual app. So not only the experience of crafting, but some of the mechanics that we'll get into. So with crafting, as we talked about with research, you'll get blueprints. You'll go scout and get the crafting materials. Once you have those, you can go into the crafting view in the app, go to the blueprint that you want to craft. You'll click into it. You'll see the details. You'll see how many times it can be crafted. How many times it has been crafted. The details of what's needed to craft it. You'll click craft. When you do that, you are shown a window here that happens before the success window, and it tells you how long it's going to take to craft. You can skip that by spending DD. Let's take a step back. I mentioned in a tweet and somewhere in this that we have made crafting is minting all traits are NFTs. So when you craft, you are minting a new NFT on the blockchain. One of the things I tweeted about 6 weeks ago or 2 months ago, we had the idea, like, it sucks to craft if you have to sign transactions. I love blockchain technology and what it means. The UX is awful. The friction of, like, especially if you're on a ledger, you got to sign and everything. So we basically said, cool, we have this problem. We are not going to be able to achieve our goals of making crafting really fun if people have to sign transactions, but they're creating NFTs. So how do we do it? How do we allow people to mint NFTs on the blockchain without signing transactions? We haven't talked about this yet. I think there's a slide in here that briefly talks about it. I think I'll probably tweet something about it next week. But so what we came up with, I'm so proud of this. Like, it is not it's not an overly technical solution. Everyone is going to hear this and be like, oh shit. Of course, that's how we should do it. So the way it works, you have an ADA account balance. All you do is deposit ADA to your account. And when you go to mint, there's a small ADA fee associated with crafting traits. It scales based on the rarity of the trait you're crafting. If you have ADA in your account balance, we don't need to make you sign a transaction. We just deduct the ADA from your account balance, which all that means is your ADA for your account balance is stored in a wallet, a centralized wallet. You can withdraw it at any time. It's in a wallet. It's the same thing as claiming your ADA from your Outpost rewards. It's the exact same thing.
Okay.
You deposit ADA, it goes into a central wallet that we control. You want to withdraw your ADA? Boom, done. You just sign the transaction. It's your ADA. When you mint something, when you craft something, all it does is transfers ADA from that centralized wallet to our wallet. We get paid for that when you mint that trait.
Okay.
You never had to sign a transaction. You had to sign to deposit ADA to your account. You can deposit as much as you want, 10 million ADA or 20 ADA. But all that does is it means when you go to craft, you click a button, craft starts. No signing a transaction. All of the rest of the signature, all of the blockchain stuff is happening on the back end. You never have to see it. That's the whole thing. And I think it's, I'm only going to flex like one time this whole show, and it is around this, because as cool as all these things are that we're building, and there's a lot of great discussions happening on Twitter right now about products and like friction and having to deal with the limitations of doing things on blockchain. This is the lowest tech, most elegant solution that anyone out there who's listening can go emulate and recreate themselves. If your community, if your customer trusts in you as a platform, and I think our community trusts us, then they can trust us by depositing their ADA that they can withdraw for no fees at any time back to their account. And this is a thing that, again, it might sound absurd that I'm so stoked about this, but it's because friction and UX and all of these things that make blockchain kind of a pain in the ass to deal with, we're able to just completely eliminate here in a very low tech, solution that is very easy for us to build and to implement. And so I wanted to throw that out there. It may not even be that interesting to everyone else, but to me, it is the difference between us shipping an experience that would be, in my opinion, completely degraded and crippled by having to sign transactions. If you want to quickly craft through a lot of traits, you're going to be like signing transaction. Then you're going to get a wallet error because you've tried to sign too many transactions in too short of a period of time. And I'm like, yeah, nothing would make me hate this more than if that were happening to me. And so again, it might sound like super far left field, but I'm so stoked about it. But this is one of the things I'm most excited about for all of it. And by the way, you take this and you apply it to buying action slots. I mentioned earlier, they call it 8 ADA. There's no, if you have 8 in your account, why sign a transaction? Just use your account balance. By the way, take this. You could do the same thing with minting any NFT. We could have done that with Outposts, with the Outpost mint. You could do it with upgrading your Outpost once we apply this there. So again, I'm talking way too much about it. I'm way too in the weeds on it, but it's something I'm super excited about because the worst thing is signing transactions and getting wallet errors and so on. So I'm way too excited about it. But
no, I'm glad you explained that because I was genuinely curious who was eating the fees on those no sign transactions essentially, but it's still being an NFT. I was very curious how that all worked, but that sounds so simple how you just explained it. It's from our account balance. It just makes sense.
Exactly. It's just and again, we've thought about, like, we won't do this at launch, but we've thought about, like, do we provide incentives for people to do that? Because it's easier for us too, by the way, if we're not having to look for wallet signatures. And so maybe you deposit X amount of ADA and we actually give you a credit on top of that. And we encourage people to use the account. We're not going to do that at launch. No additional frills, but it opens up a lot of additional opportunities. And dude, I think about minting platforms like ADA Anvil, Cash. If you're out there, I'll talk to you at Vegas later this week. Like, if you're a trusted service provider, imagine I'm going to go mint NFTs and ADA Anvil's the service provider here. I can just deposit ADA into my account and I don't have to sign a transaction to mint. You know, I say I want 5 NFTs. My account, my ADA Anvil account balance is subtracted for the cost of 5 NFTs. And they handle, Cash and ADA Anvil handle all the back end magic and the signatures and stuff on the back end. And I never had to sign anything. I still have to wait to get my NFTs. There's still blockchain stuff happening, but I didn't have to deal with the signatures.
Behind the scenes stuff. Yeah,
exactly. So again, I know I went too deep on that, but like, to me, it's just like, I'm a UX person.
It's fascinating, honestly. That was cool.
Really cool. It definitely has a lot of
the game environment too. Like, that's the big thing. We've played a couple games here where there's been a few experiences or some projects that have come out with kind of where you can walk around, where Tommy, you'll jump in the store and buy something really quick. And sometimes it does show up right away, and other times it's like it's still not here. We never got to use it, and that can kind of throw you off that when you're trying to just enjoy yourself. Now it's like, well, I'm kind of over this now.
Yeah, you think about like a video game where your Steam account where you reload your credit card real quick, buy some Steam points. Like, I want that there instantly as soon as I pay that money, whether it's $20 or $100 or instantly. I want that to happen. And it's no different here because I'm sure there's some people out there who are like, well, that's not decentralized. You guys are holding on to that wallet. What if you guys decide to, rip all that ADA away? What are you doing with that ADA? That I can imagine there would be some people on that side of the fence. But it's also part of that, like, hey, if you guys trust them and you're the one signing the transaction, just send that ADA to you guys. So it's still in your hands to make that decision.
People don't think about, we sign a lot of transactions just to even link to a lot of websites that these projects have offered us. We sign stuff to link to their website all the time. They can easily do exactly what Derps are already doing.
Yeah. So the other thing is it's not required. If you want to mint and you want to sign transactions, you can do that. And so I don't think we showed the mint UI anywhere in this presentation. But again, like, you have to think about this. We arrived at this problem or at this solution thinking from the user's point of view, from a UX point of view.
Yeah.
So what I don't want to do is to have the person who says, I love the blockchain tech and I don't trust Team Derp. That's fine. So I don't want to deposit any ADA. I would rather just sign. Awesome. We don't want to degrade their experience either. If they're okay with signing, if that doesn't bother them and they're good with it, and if you're a super casual person, you have one Derp, you're only going to craft 7 or 8 traits, one every few days, cool. It's not really going to degrade your UX to sign a couple transactions.
Right.
And to tie it back to the slide that we're looking at, what I think is going to happen for those out there who are starting to take notes and they're going to start putting their strategy together. What we're showing here on this screen, to touch on a few things, and then I'll tie it back to the minting experience again, is when you craft a trait, every trait has a power score range. There's a minimum and a maximum that can be crafted with. And we did this because we want there to be, again, to be some sort of, we're trying to recreate that experience and that excitement of minting an NFT. I don't know what I'm going to get. Am I going to get a perfect infantryman, pred body here that is on the very low range of power score, or am I going to get a perfect one it's the highest range power score? So again, we're all gamers. I remember playing Star Wars Galaxies back in, the awesome MMO back in like 2002, 2003. Like this shit was awesome. And I remember like having this experience of like crafting stuff and like and again, there's a million other games that have created similar experiences where you don't get a perfect one. You don't get the prefix or the suffix that you wanted to, like Path of Exile or Diablo. And so we wanted to recreate that experience again, while trying to not make it feel too punishing. We don't want balance to get completely out of whack. And so that was one way we did it, is when you craft a trait, there's a range, and that's what you see on the UI there. However, and what we're highlighting with the arrow is, I'm going to keep lying and saying this is my favorite thing, and that's my favorite thing, because this might be my favorite thing, is the trait variance. And so the reason why this is so cool is, think of CSGO, whatever, where you have a super rare skin of a weapon, whatever. Then think of any other game, right? That has a similar system. What we wanted to do was just to make, again, try to capture that excitement and fun of minting an NFT and bring that to the trait level by saying, what trait you're crafting. We're not going to surprise you by you getting the trait you just crafted. We can surprise you on the power score range, and we can surprise you by introducing variants. So for this trait that we're looking at right now, there are 5 variations of this trait. There's the base one there that we see in the little window, the infantryman, and then the one to the right of it is a more rare variant. This just happens to be an uncommon trait. Common and uncommon traits can be crafted an unlimited number of times. We're doing that because there's a ton of those characters. We don't want people to come in 6 months from now and not be able to craft those traits if they really want them. They might be better off going to JPEG and just buying them because people could list those traits for sale. But there's no limit. But for common and uncommon, there's no crafting limit. From scare up to legendary and even unique traits, there's a strict limit on how many times those traits can be crafted globally. The trait can only so many of those traits can exist. Nice. So to finish this thought, this infantryman body, it can be crafted an unlimited number of times. However, there are the base one, the one with the green highlights, for example, you get that one. I think it's 40% of the time. The rare one there is called it's the hunter variant. It's tied to the story in some ways. If you know the marksman body from the existing project, you'll recognize the little Derp skull that's on there. It's a whole story element there. That trait is, I think you only get that one 10% or 15% of the time. There is a version of this trait that you only get 1%, I believe, of the time when you craft. So while it's an uncommon trait, and so it's lower on power score and it's supposed to be less special, if you get that 1% version of this trait that anyone can access, you have 2 derps, you're not able to do the hardest content, you're not able to craft the legendary stuff, Voix and Knifebait and AMJ and Nomi and Ted and Malak, they all maxed, they've already crafted all those out, they're gone, you can't even craft those legendary. You can still come in here and craft this uncommon, and you might get, it's still exciting for you because you can go after that 1% version of this trait and get something that's accessible for you, that's extremely rare, that might be, I don't like to talk about value and stuff that much, but it might be more valuable than a trait that's actually much more rare because of the visual that comes with it. Now, that's for common and uncommon. What if you're crafting a scare trait or a scare to legendary where they have more limited supply? Then getting the rare variations of those traits is very special, right? Because they have a very, very, very limited. There are going to be scare traits of which only a handful exist, and so they look different. And they'll be very special for collectors. So I love that. And then I promise one last final thought to tie that back to what we talked about with minting. That's the reason why we need the instant mint, no transaction. I have I've hoarded up a ton of materials. I want to go for the 1% version of this infantryman body. I want to be able to spam craft, pay the fees to skip the wait, see what my results are, and then craft again and again and again and again. I cannot be having to sign transactions. So that's crafting.
That makes So much sense. I didn't even think about that. Well, you're more unique if you do land one of the rare, unique versions of these things. Is that guaranteed to have the higher power score, or is that still a part of the random roll too?
Part of the random roll. And again, the cool thing about how all this comes together is, let's say you get that 1% infantryman body, and it's not perfect. It has the worst power score.
Yeah.
Just throw it in the cosmetic slot, right? Like you just want the visual for it. It's a huge visual flex to have.
Damn, so I didn't even think about that, dude. You just blew my mind. Like the basically that's transmog.
It's transmog,
exactly.
dude. That's
Exactly.
what it is.
I didn't think about that. So yeah, even if I've got a shitty looking visual, but it has a really good roll on it, I can transmog and put what I want on that rare variant.
And dude, here's the thing. Like when you get to, like, let's say legendary crafting, dude, I think I'm trying to think, but like a legendary, let's say pred body, because we're looking at a pred body. I think we might not even have a legendary pred body. And for the real nerds, they'll all know why. The reason why I is because front gear and back gear are all legendary traits. So it's very hard to balance because they're super rare for preds to have a front gear and a back gear. It's very difficult for us to balance the rarity of the pred traits compared to derps. It's much easier. But the cool thing is you craft a legendary, right? And you get an imperfect roll on it. And again, I know that like that sounds like, why would someone be excited about that? But it's super cool because, again, you can't have things that are special and rare without having things that are not special and not rare, right? Like it's important for us to have this range of things. So it means that Tom and I both craft the same trait, and I get a perfect one and he doesn't, or vice versa. And it just creates again, it's not all about making money and stuff, but it does create this value gap. That's like, I can now sell mine because I have the perfect one. Maybe it'll be more sought out. They look identical, but I have one that's higher power score.
Yeah, dude, that's all even like in crafting in games, like the random rolls, that's what people chase. Like that keeps people in those MMO grinds. Exactly why you keep coming back, because you want that perfect roll. And and this is where you highlight the NFT part of this in gaming, is that you can now sell those. It's not only that you just got it in game and it's really benefiting you in game, but I can also make money off these if that's what I want to do, or if I choose to offload it one day. And I think it highlights that perfect. But dude, that's such a cool feature to have, and I imagine that crafting's gonna be such a fun thing for everybody. I wanted to get back maybe to a couple slides. I know we're flying through the hours right now. Let's go back. I don't know if there's anything, actually I think we touched on most of this stuff as far as the crafting portion of this goes, the off-chain, on-chain, customization, and gear and cosmetics. I know we can see some of this video in the background right now about equipping cosmetics. I know there's a little good alpha there, but basically, so there's a couple different ways, right? You can craft a new trait. You can add that on. It goes based off of the power score, your existing stuff there. It's like a multiplier towards that. So you have your base trait, you have your customization slot, I guess, next, or a gear trait, sorry, I would call it. Your base, your gear, and then cosmetic. Those are the three. Okay. Damn, I love that, man. That's such a... You guys have really thought this through, which I love that you guys did this on the front end.
We can't even be surprised anymore, Tommy. I know we still are every time, but...
How the hell are we only 25 slides out of 40 right now?
Yeah, I mean, we need to speed up. But I think I'll just say on customization, sort of tie it up, is... I never want to mislead anyone, and I never want us to have the appearance of having ego or anything like that. So it's not perfect. It's not going to be perfect, right? Like we know what the constraints are, and we know that, like, we know the risks of customization, but we know the risks of remaining stagnant and not doing anything. And I'm super stoked what the team came up with for like how to solve for this. And it's not just the team, by the way. It's Malal's here in chat. Like I remember asking Malal, JK, a couple other people back. It was either early 2023 or late 2022. Like, hey, how do you approach collecting a trait? Is it you want it because it's rare or because it has high power score? Like, and I remember asking, and maybe I asked Knifebait. I can't remember. It's been a long time when we started asking people, like, what does it mean to you to get a trait? And so trying to take that, and by the way, and we all love it. I mean, I think of Pokemon cards and crafting and transmog and video games and all these things. Like, how do we apply that to NFTs in a way that's not a video game, right? Like, we're not interested in building a video game. What we're trying to take is the thing that's interesting about those mechanics with the things that make NFTs as enjoyable as they are. The thrill of the mints, right? Like not knowing what you're getting. How do we sort of bring those together and then make sure that we're not disrespecting or not honoring the investment that people have put into their collection up to this point? And again, I know we don't have it perfect, but I'm very proud of what we came up with.
You've got a great base to work off of, and I think that's probably one of the power score thing is such a game changer, right? That allows you to be able to play with that. Not a lot of NFT collections can do that, even if they were building some sort of game. Like that power score changes the game to allow you to do what you want. The transmog thing with the cosmetic slot versus the gear slot. I mean, you guys have really thought it through. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what people kind of come up with, because now not only are you increasing what the rarity technically of what you are crafting, but you're also getting to build it in a way that expresses yourself. You get to build your PFP and make it unique to yourself, which is awesome. You've done a great job on that.
I will mention one more thing. You said one thing that makes me think of two things. One, I kind of downplayed the significance of the visual aspect. I don't mean to do that, but to me that's table stakes. Like if you're introducing customization, then by default you're getting to change your character's appearance. And so I don't mean to insult anyone else by saying this, but anyone can do that. That's the easy part. And so I am very excited about the artwork that Golden has done for Preds and that Bajewski's done for Derps. It is nuts. It's so much fun. There are so many traits there that and I think I mentioned here somewhere in the slides, like how many there are with all the variants and everything. It's going to massively increase the visual diversity of the collection, which is a big problem with Preds. It's a big problem with Derps too, because we have so many commons and uncommons that have a lot of similar traits. I'm really excited about that. But the other thing I didn't mention that you can kind of see going on in the background of this video, and maybe I mentioned it elsewhere in the slides, is the multi-slot traits. I don't think we've talked about this anywhere yet, but I think I mentioned somewhere in the slides, is that because of this system, I mentioned raising the way that we're raising the bar on this. It's not the balance. It's not the maintaining the significance of the base traits. It's having traits that can occupy multiple attribute slots. Now you see this with static collections. Omen, for example, did a lot of this. Where they have like heads, for example, that remove the eyes and the ears. I mean, it's just it's a basketball or something. But to do that in a customization world is very difficult, because you have to have all these rules about what can mix and match. And so in the background of this video, when it resets, you can see a trait. That's a derp trait that occupies every single attribute slot. I think it's a head trait. And when you equip it in gear or cosmetic, it will occupy every single attribute of that character except for the color and the beak.
Okay.
So that's a very rare trait, because it's so visually dominant that if a lot of people had it, they would all the derps would look the same that had it, because it replaces so many attributes.
I see it. I saw what you were just looking at. Yep.
And so that is something, again, I'm gonna lie against it. It is so insane that we're able to do that, and that artists, and we'll look at this in a few more slides. I know we need to speed up a bit here. That the artists can literally experiment with that, and they have full control. They can upload a trait and say, this replaces all of these other attributes, and I want to change its stacking order, where it sits in the layer, like in the layering for the artwork. They have full control over that. And that, it's pretty nuts. Like, it's just the creativity that unlocks. I don't even know. It would break my brain trying to be an artist and coming up with
again, I'm thinking in video game terms right now, but what you just basically described to me, I used to play a ton of Destiny. I don't know, people in the day used to play that. But it was a first person shooter, but basically one legendary or exotic trait that you could use, but you could only use one exotic between your gear, gun that's exotic, and none of your other guns could be exotic even if you had more. And same thing with your gear, you can only have that one slot. So essentially with what you got there with something that takes up multiple is, if you want to choose that legendary trait that you are hanging on to, it's going to come at a cost of sacrificing some other traits from doing that. But in turn, so there you go. I mean, you guys you're thinking of it all right now. There it is right there if you're looking at it. So we'll keep moving. But yeah, dude, we can keep going on and on. And
that was such a hard sacrifice to make too. Like trying to make that decision of like, damn, I really want to use this, but like,
I like this gun too. Like, how do I make them both work? No, I got to build. I got to
add a whole
around
extra layer to that strategy of it.
Yeah, that's crazy that you guys have thought of so much of that, and that could be all done with platform, right? You're talking about artists, and just the ease of content that they're able to do. Hey, I'm an artist. I don't know how to do any of the dev stuff. I don't know how to layer anything, but you give me the option to go ahead and create my own traits and upload it to your thing. I can then start playing like you did with you were talking about your nieces or the kids. I can have them play around with some of these traits. That's happening here because of platform.
Exactly. One of the most difficult things to do, I think, is right now it's all engineering based. So the artist will come up with a bunch of traits. Geek will take that and generate a batch of Preds, let's say, this new body, which we're bringing back from the legacy, the original Preds. It's the Hitman suit.
Yep.
Tons of variants for it. They're all so bad. Like this was Voik said this, and I was like, nah, dude, I don't really think so. But now that I've seen it, I'm like, yeah, I want all of my Preds to just be wearing Hitman suits. Like, it's so cool.
You have a whole like guild or whole clan get dedicated to that, right? The
yeah, exactly. It opens up the door for like so much creativity. But the ability for, let's say, Golden or Bajewski to log into platform and say, I have this new trait. I don't know how it's going to interact with other traits. I'm going to make sure there's no layering conflicts or whatever. Typically, it doesn't necessarily require an engineer. An artist could do that in their tool of choice that they use to create all their artwork. But this allows them to do it at scale. And so I upload this Hitman suit and I say, I want to take the mutant back gear there, the wings. I want to put this new Hitman suit that I just uploaded. I want to select now, generate 100 Preds and randomize every other trait. Just randomly generate every other trait, and I want to see what it looks like with the Hitman suit. It allows them to do that without needing an engineer to get involved, amongst other things. But it's a really cool capability.
I love that. Love, like you said, the engineering and stuff that goes into that. Here's a big topic over here that we kind of brushed through a little bit is fame, and this has to tie into with maybe the seasons that you are going to be doing. Like what, like a quick TLDR. What is fame?
Yeah, I'll try to make it quick. We're definitely dragging on here, but fame is, as I said at the kickoff, it's a new point. It's sort of a new point system. You'll earn it for all quest types, so for research, scouting, and campaigns. And there's a leaderboard, right? So it just accumulates on your account. You can compete against others. But the idea with this is we wanted to create something that would allow us, once again, participation is so important for us. And while it is still pay to win, someone with a ton of derps who are participating a lot are going to outclass, someone who has 2 derps and is participating a lot. We wanted there to be some representation that would sort of embody both of those things. How many derps you have, how much you're doing. And that's what fame is. It captures that. It's just based on the quest that you're doing. You're earning fame the whole time. The really cool thing about fame is, this is sort of our catch-all participation system, where if you are participating, you're earning fame. And at the end of the season, you can convert your fame to power score for your characters. So you can say, cool, I earned, let's just say 10,000 fame, which is a random number. I'm going to take that with some limitations. I can't inject all 10,000 into one character potentially. But I'm going to take that fame and I'm going to convert that to power score for, let's say, 5 of my derps, for example, and increase their power score. So again, that means that regardless of what you craft, you're not able to craft the legendary traits, someone else beat you to crafting them all out. You were able to still convert your fame and get a power score increase, which again flows throughout the rest of the ecosystem. Yeah. There's one other cool thing about fame, and that is at the end of the season, we will also distribute sort of random fame rewards. I think if you jump to the next slide, maybe you'll see, sort of the chest here. So the crown is sort of our symbol for fame across the ecosystem. And so we'll have this experience that's sort of like there'll be some blueprints in there that weren't accessible throughout the entire season. There'll be some other goodies in there. But basically anyone who participates will get, some random rewards that will be based on where you sit in the leaderboard. And then before anyone asks, I think it's a really valid question. It's not really fair if I have 2 derps and I have 5 kids versus someone who has, 200 derps and no kids and no obligations and they can just play all the time. Well, in the future, the plan is to introduce leagues. And again, if you play video games, you're familiar with what that is. But the idea with that is we will take your total account power score across all of your characters, and we'll put you into leagues. And then that way you can compete against other players who have sort of similar levels of assets and similar power score range. So it's a little more fair. That'll come a bit later.
Nice. I love that you're even thinking about that. That's just like I said, in the play to earn thing, the top guys are always going to get the most stuff when it comes to that. So yeah, giving the little guys who just at least check in all the time an option to get something kind of unique. And I love that. I think of like Rocket League a lot, like where you have the different like tiers of like rankings all the way up to like Grand Champ, where they're like, they all get the same wheels for that season, but those wheels get progressively more badass the higher up in ranking that you are. So if you guys did like a unique like trait thing at the end of it, say it was like a beak or whatever it was for that season or whatever it is for that fame thing, that could get way cooler depending on where you are in those leagues for something like that.
Exactly. And I'll say that, and I think we can move on, is that the season 1 experience really revolves around new traits for Preds and Derps. I mentioned new content layers. We can think of future seasons, however you'd like to think about content. Those rewards, again, we're only thinking about traits right now. You can just as easy, and remember, traits are NFTs. Whether it's on-chain or off-chain, whatever, like we can just as easily like think about any other reward type. Again, I don't want to say too much because it's too easy to give things away, but anything that we would have done, again, just when we have a slide in here, which by the way, we're going to release this publicly to everyone tomorrow, but we talked about earlier, the entire past roadmap could have been done through platform or in large part.
Yeah.
You can think about the things that we did in the past. You can think about what platform allows us to replicate and do those types of things. And I think people can sort of like make the leap to what that means for the future and some of the future content layers. And so what it would mean to be getting sort of fame rewards and what types of things that might lead to. It's not always just new traits. There's a bunch of other things that we can start playing with. And really, we're limited by our creativity. And that's pretty much going to be it.
Nice. I love that.
I really do like that you said, it's always hard to find that balance. It's something that, like, I know me and TJ have talked about Tarkov. It's conversation. I mean, it goes across all games where you try to find is it skill-based matchmaking that kind of works. And obviously, like you said, this is more pulling elements from like what we know of the game world and kind of applying them here. This isn't, it's straightforward kind of that kind of PvP video game or something necessarily. You still want to have that balance, like you said, with people that have families. You want them to be able to engage and have a good time and not just be like, well, what the hell? I missed 2 days. I had my kids, took them to the theme park, and might as well not even play this season because I'm already that far behind. Exactly. Where they still can play with people that aren't going to be playing every single day, or like streamer mode. You know what I mean? It's one of those things you watch streamers, like these guys play for 9 hours a day. You're never going to compete with that. And there's always that complaint of they kind of have sometimes critiques or things they'd like to see changed in a game. And other people say, well, that doesn't apply to me. Like, you're asking for make it harder. Like, I barely get to play as is.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to find that balance. So I like 100%. That the game really plays towards that. That's amazing.
I think it's a really important topic. And again, one of the things that we want to get even better at, I know it's a scary term, but like collecting data. It's not so much about collecting data as much as it is understanding our community. That's the way I like to think about it. And so like I look at the people who have said things in chat, in the last 10 minutes. Quarterwater Malau, Nomi, Knifebait. I know I don't know exactly how old Nomi is. There's rumors that he's like 95 years old. But for the most part, these are all grown-ass men who have things to do. And so while we want to, again, it's a story of everything we've said tonight. We want to find a balance. We want to create content that, like, if you really want to come and know life, it's a really old MMO phrase from EverQuest, poop sock. If you really want to poop sock, I don't know if even you guys are familiar with that, but that's if you really want to do that, like we that's not what we're about, but we would like to get to a point where you really could spend a ton of time grinding in this and doing a lot. But that's how I imagine all the Derp Birds communities are just watering their lawn and stuff. They're just doing the most mundane stuff like throughout the day.
I love it.
They like giggle at Discord chat. But we don't want, it should be, it's entertainment. Yeah. Right? It is your experience. You come pick it up and use it as you want. don't come and complain when Voix has completely just obliterated all of us and has crafted, all of these legendary traits and stuff, because he is going to really grind at this, right? He's been waiting for a long time. And so
and that's what it is, man. It's gaming, right? Like, of course, the top streamers and all those people are going to have the best stuff. They put the time in, they put the effort, they're rewarded for that. But at the same time, you're not everybody is going to be handed everything, and you need to understand that when you get into it. But like you said, it has something for everybody. You'll never perfectly balance that, people's expectations. But the fact that you guys have done a good job between like scaling right now, whether you have one character or 100, I love what you guys have been able to do that. So yeah, to kind of progress this here, because we didn't tell you, Dave, but we got a giveaway at the end of this that we're going to go ahead and do. So if you guys have been tuning in or you just jumped back in, you definitely want to hang out here to the end.
Well, let's just rapid fire this then. I can sort of burn through a lot of this, but if there's something specific you guys want to say, then definitely cut me off. Does that sound cool?
Yeah, perfect. Absolutely.
Cool. So I just want to, as everyone knows, we talk about Derp Birds being an ecosystem, and these next few slides are really just talking about how Adventures fits into the rest of the ecosystem. I will say, as always, our goals are too ambitious, right? Like there's more that we want to do within an allotted period of time, but it is integrated at day one. There's a lot of ways that it integrates into the ecosystem. There's a lot more room for us to improve on that. But if you click through, to the next slide, a big one is how it works with Outposts, and the TLDR on this one is it's really twofold. The first one is we want to have a fun dynamic between fortifying, where if your character is fortifying, it gets some power score boost for not overall, but for questing. So if your character has 2,000 power score and it's fortified and you go to send it on a quest, it'll have 2,500 power score, for example. That's just a made up number. That's the idea. We want to take that much further. We want to introduce like ways for you to fortify one particular outpost where you get a much larger power score increase, potentially create more of a dynamic between where you're fortifying and why you might want to move your characters around. Do a lot more of that as time goes on. The other way that we're working with Outposts is, as we call here, the storage annex. I mentioned earlier that crafting materials are going to be the real, like scouting is going to be a real grind. It's going to be hard to get all the crafting materials you need. This won't be in at launch, but one of the things that it's already started, we just haven't finished it, is the storage annex, which would allow you to, very similar to the satellite, turn it on. You'll pay a very small derp dollar fee per day, and it'll just generate crafting materials. And the materials it generates is based on the location that it sits at. And so it gives a reason to have different outposts at different locations.
So you're saying my large lava load might generate a lot better stuff than my Derpshire Valley?
It would for sure, because those legendary crafting materials, to be honest, are going to be very difficult to get. And so having a lava load based outpost with your storage annex fully upgraded and turned on is going to get you. It's going to have that Derpshire Valley can't even generate lava load. And I'll just say, because you asked, there's a region-based thing where it's like a Derpshire Valley can actually produce materials from locations that are 2 levels of rarity higher. So uncommon, Antarctica drifts, and is it Sanskrit Badlands or Chillvine Jungle?
Badlands.
Badlands. Okay. So it could generate materials up to that, and your lava load can generate Baldo's Bog or Pinnacle Perch level crafting materials as well. So again, I'll be clear, that's not in for launch. It's something that we've started on. It's already partially built, all the UI's there, but it won't be in for the launch. But something. And by the way, one other quick note on that, and I think I say this, recurring theme here. Lots of new content layers, lots of new seasons. Those crafting materials may not be relevant for every new layer of content. So you'll be able to go to that storage annex and say, oh, this new layer of content, I need these other things. Let me toggle my storage annex over to be collecting these things instead. So it's all about dynamic and so on. Sorry, I'm trying to do these quick, but
no, you're doing good. I just had to ask, because that was one thing I did recently. Instead of going and buy a bunch of characters, I actually upgraded to the lava load. I went after some stuff, because I thought with Adventures, I'm like, there's a reason there's different materials for different things, right? For different locations, it has to be. So my part of me, I was like, I'm gonna get one of every single location, so that way I can do, be able to get something from it, maybe. And now here you go.
And we want to keep building upon that dynamic of like, I have outposts in these locations, or I have a large outpost or whatever. We want to keep building. Again, that's the whole point of 2 + 2 = 5. Like, we want to keep building those dynamics that makes it fun and rewarding. And yeah, we'll keep working on that.
And one big thing to notice, because I know people hold the medium outpost, right? The ecosystem rewards a lot right now. You don't really see too much of that online at the moment when you're getting rewarded every month. But then you're mentioning this right now, 30% of all ADA earned through adventures will flow back to Outposts.
Dude, I can't believe I didn't just mention that. That's a very important thing. Yeah, rightfully so. People make fun of that puny ecosystem rewards that medium and large outposts get. But we have said, again, we don't make projections. We have no idea how these things are going to do. But we said when we added ecosystem royalties at the start, when we first announced Outposts, we said, you know what? That's going to be very meager from the start. It's going to be pretty puny looking. But the cool thing about those ecosystem rewards is as the ecosystem grows, there's always going to be a kickback. We can't do anything about how much the mining operation does. It's sort of based on other conditions. Royalties are going to do their thing as well. But the ecosystem, the more we build, the more new things that come online, the more that's going to sort of build out and grow. And so again, 30%. I'll say this is the best time to mention this. The cost for participating in adventures, we try to keep very low. For that average player that we talked about earlier, we do not want them spending as much as they spent on minting a single outpost. So if you minted an outpost and it was 480, 490 or something, ADA was at 20. Oh God, ADA is almost back to what it was at that point.
That's what I'm saying. Yep.
But we want to keep it as accessible, and we understand it's not a mint. People are willing to spend more on mints than they are in other ways. But we feel. Anyone who knows us, like we went 18 months without raising funds before we did Outpost. We're never trying to rip anyone off. It's always about, we want as many people to come and participate as possible, but we're building a business. We have a team to pay. And so I'm pretty stoked about where we landed on the cost of things. For sure, some people are gonna, gripe and want everything free, but 30% of it goes back to those ecosystem distributions.
And just to be clear, we don't need to dive into like depth of what it is, but what are some things that people will have to pay ADA for, and that will flow into this thing?
It's
obviously crafting trades.
Two things at launch. It's the action slots and crafting trades. And as I said, crafting trades, I'll just throw it out there. Crafting a common trade, I think the cost is 5 ADA to craft a common trade. I would have to double check. And so that it scales, but as I mentioned, it scales based on rarity. But as I mentioned, the other blueprints are all very limited in how many can be crafted total. And so, if you are the person, let's just put that out there. If you are the person with 200 derps and you're like, I'm going to equip a trait in every single gear slot for all of my derps, and derps have 7 or 8 attributes that you'd be crafting traits for. It's going to set you back. You're going to be spending more than a single outpost mint. But again, it's what we said about the poop socking dynamic. Like, how hard do you want to participate? If you don't, there's no need to gear out every single one of your derps or preds. It's really do it as you want, as it's fun for you, as you want to participate. We're not forcing anyone to do it. And so, as I said, I think where we landed on the cost is really fair. The other thing I will mention while we're on this topic is back to the content layers. We want there to all just be this continuous flow of things to do, right? This new layer of content. And that's why we want to keep costs low, because over the course of, it's one of the reasons we want to keep costs low, but over the course of, let's say, 12 months of adventures, there will be multiple layers of content. There's going to be lots of opportunities to earn through that. But of course, you'll be able to decide if you want to spend more on crafting more trades than other players.
Yeah, and I mean, there's another thing too, like a whole other conversation with Outposts of like, hey, Outposts aren't going to last forever. Mining's going to dry up eventually sometime. You guys may be able to sell those things off, and it's like, oh, dude, we could do whatever we want with Outposts. We could actually generate, revenue sources from these things within our own ecosystem, because obviously people are willing to pay to do that. So there's a whole other way for people to get value out of their Outposts after maybe the mining cycle even runs its course or machines kind of dry out and you guys decide to make a pivot from there. Like you said, you guys have got so much to work with right now, so it's cool to hear how Outposts are starting with, and I can imagine the platform and everything that you guys are doing, how you can make that so much more involved.
A lot of ideas.
So, I don't know what else we've got in here.
Super quick. There's no point in talking about much here. It's just uses for Derp dollars and Derp. It's a part of the ecosystem, so the integration. The only place to spend the Derp token in this is going to be when you customize your characters. That's an on-chain thing that you do have to sign for, because we need permission to update your NFT, and so there's a point where you're going to sign. We've done a lot to minimize the friction there. But because it's a point where you're going to sign, it's the most logical place for us to include a Derp charge. It's not high. We want to make it's flat, no matter what you're doing. It's a flat fee. And then Derp dollars are spent for questing. I'll tell you, I said scouting is like the real grind content. I think what we landed on for scouting is it's 10 Derp dollars. So it's because we think some people will be grinding really hard. We don't want it to be overly, again, because Derp dollar really does have a real cost. We don't want it to be very high. We want everyone to be able to participate. And I think the place where people are going to spend the most Derp dollars is on skipping the crafting timer. If you don't want to wait for the timer to end on crafting, you can just pass it, spending your Derp dollars. So
I love that.
Yeah,
gives the value back to the Derp too. Yeah, because of course I'm the same way. I don't got that time. I got kids. I got things I got to do. I don't feel like waiting. I'm gonna go ahead and do it now.
You must see if you got that rare variant.
Yep. Oh man, that's dangerous. But I love that. And then I think here you go. You mentioned we see over here some of the. I think you mentioned this earlier. Getting to see some of the different traits, and also you guys are upgrading. It looks like the Derp app.
Exactly. Just real quick on this is we mentioned protecting those base traits, like the 126 club, for example. We can't be they're super special, especially something like the 126 club, right? And so while the new traits are going to be a lot of fun, they're going to be really fresh and dynamic and really rewarding to get those rare variants, the overall collecting experience is going to be super elevated, throughout adventures and through the new traits. What we want to do is make sure those base traits are always sacred. They're always nostalgic, and they're kept separate. And so what we're really showing here is just what we are working on a new Derp app right now. It looks super badass, and this is sort of a sneak peek at it. But the what we're showing here, you can barely see it, is that we're looking at base traits, and you could click over to crafted traits. And we just want to make sure that like those collecting milestones are always kept separate. That collecting is always sort of maintains that sort of special place.
Yeah, and you just reminded me too, thinking about achievements and things like that. Obviously, get derped. You get points for doing those achievements, but you could also, especially somebody in a 126 club, you could assign a certain special trait dedicated to the 126 that only they can wear. And whether you make that customizable, like a gear slot, or whatever you want to do with that, it can bring people in for who wanted to collect that and make that special to them without excluding people.
One thing we didn't even get into, and it's too technical, is this new system that's a part of platform called progression. And it's, as a gamer, it's probably what you think it is, right? It's how you would build like a leveling system, like an experience point system. It's how we handle progression through quests to know where you're at in a campaign. It's how we would rebuild achievements, how we will rebuild achievements in a not so distant future, because the progression system allows non-engineers to be able to control that. So to your point, we can have progressions that say, oh, this person has this achievement, right? Something that's unrelated to a trait or an NFT altogether, but they have this achievement that gives them some bonus while adventuring, or that gives them some access to some certain thing. Yeah, there's so many, or a customization option, as you said. There's so many things that we can do with platform.
Dude, I love it. Like I say, we can go down the rabbit hole. I love that YouTube, even the slides, you're like, all right, that was a lot to get through. Are you still with us for 2 hours in over here? What else? So season 1 deliverables, I guess you can talk about this. So what else what's going on with season 1? And then from there, what are we looking at?
Just to wrap it up here, it's because I know people are like, what's coming next? So a lot of stuff's already in progress because engineering's tied up building. The putting the sort of the polishing touches on getting us ready for launch. There's no reason for Bajewski and Golden and myself, Voix, those of us who like really view things from product and artwork, to start planning the next layers of content. And so we're actually able to start doing that. I never want to mislead you, and I'm done saying things that might make people think like, oh, something else is coming soon. But assuming the launch is smooth, right? For sure, we're going to have some hiccups and some bugs and stuff to work out. But if things were 100% butter, we could have a new layer of content in, and I'm being, dead sober and very serious about this. We could have it is within our ability to have a new layer of content in within a week after launch. Like it is that. That's awesome. I'm saying that, I'm like, I can't even believe it, but like we've already outlined the additional content layers. We know what the work that needs to be done. And so really that's what this slide is saying, is that we're already working on new content layers. We're working on more content for support characters right out of the gate. We want to make sure that if you're a Derp Ape Maxi or you have more Derplings, that we want to make sure you're able to have even more to do in adventures. But some of the other things I'm really excited about, we talked about fame leagues already, but cooperative content where you can go do quests with someone else. If you don't have Voix's collection of Preds, but he could still show us he could be merciful and help you on that content. And we want to have content that's required. You have to team up with 4 or 5 other people to do the content. So again, very basic gaming stuff, right? Stuff that of course we're all very familiar with, but we want to do stuff like that again. Well, I tweeted this a few days ago. I'm so ready to get Adventures launched, not just because it's the next major milestone, but dude, I personally have really been detached from the community for the last few months. We've been so busy, and I want to get back to that. And like Adventures, with everything else that it does, it is also a vehicle and a means for us to get to come together. We just had that rebirth event, the white deity a few weeks ago, where rebirth, we all came together in Discord. Like, I want to get back to that stuff. That to me, that's like the core of what Derps is about. And I'm excited to be able to get to those types of events through Adventures. So a lot of more stuff coming down the pipe.
Win raids over there, get some big bosses where you have to load up a whole bunch of people that have to co-op into that, and they can get something at certain times. Think about maybe Pokemon Go degree, something like that. I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud here when you're mentioning those of things, but
exactly.
What about major community adventure activities? Is that what, I don't know if that just talked about that, or maybe
no comment.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, that's fair. It's been a lot.
Not completely unlike what you just said, Tommy, is sort of what we're thinking about as well. It's just these huge, maybe it's a weekly thing, for example, everyone comes together, and it's really just a Zerg, type thing where lots of people are going to have to come together. And if we don't get enough sort of collective power score, then everyone fails, no one gets anything. So a lot more sort of triggers and dynamic features, but that's kind of one of the ideas.
Nice. I love that right there. And we got the win. So we've got the trailer. August 26th is the date. 2 weeks from today on a Monday. 1 week after, I guess, NFT, or not TLV, but Rare Evo. So I can imagine a lot of people you're going to be chatting, networking with people, and I know a lot of people are looking forward to it. And I can imagine, right, people taking off work to kind of dive into this. I know us, that's a Monday night. I mean, that's a perfect night to go ahead and take a look at it live. Assuming everything goes smooth and as the plan. So we're going to have some fun with that. Man, I just wanted to say thank you for this night. I didn't know where we were going to land time-wise. Like, hey, do we have enough stuff to kind of cover through 2 hours? We could keep going, man. We just get through the slide presentation at the moment. But it's been awesome.
I know that we've gone 2 hours and you guys have a giveaway, and then we've definitely drug on. But yeah, likewise. And we're on the slide, and so I'll just echo the same and say thank you, not only to you guys for diving through this and letting me rant and rave about it, but taking the time to click through it and understand it before we jumped on the show. And then, of course, to the entire Derp Birds community. And that's what this slide is about. Again, we'll put this out publicly for everyone tomorrow. But it's both a thank you to everyone who's been here. Right, the support is honestly insane. The response to the trailer we released today, I think, despite the market conditions, sort of shows that. But also, if you're watching this, then show up, right? Like, we're 2 weeks out ish, and to me, Adventures really embodies what the entire Derp Birds roadmap has been about up until now. Entertainment's exciting, community driven, it's rewarding, it's fun, it's engaging. And I think if you hold a derp, thought about whatever, like our entire past roadmap has been about building up really to this moment where we now have this platform that allows us to be much more of that. And so now's the time to show up. And I think I have a tweet that I have saved as a draft. Starting tomorrow, I'm going to DM every single Derp Birds holder and write them a personal note and asking them to come get engaged right now. Like, now's the time. I'm calling you in. You've been MIA for some months. Now's the time to get engaged. So thanks to everyone. But let's get busy.
Dude, I love that, man. And that's one big pillar for you guys, is that one thing for as content creators. I know, like you mentioned, you put a tweet out the other day about just showing love to them, which we appreciate you guys even doing that, putting something like this together for us to be able to cover. Because it is a tough market right now when it comes to NFTs, but you guys literally have it all. What it feels like as far as just the community is all driven through that, and you guys show up for all these game nights, for all these presentations, for all these live streams, for everything in Discord, and even on Twitter today, you can see that. So big shout out to the Derp community. And to kind of end that on the Derp community, they've got a couple things together. I wanted to do a quick, we have Grimmy over there, our meme lord. He popped up over there. He's part of our F35 lore. So I know we're talking about Gordo and a few other things, which you guys, I guess we'll see some stuff in maybe in adventures more with Gordo. But shout out to the community members that make things laugh. Gordo has taken on a life of his own, man. I've seen people were showing the nipples over there and the air hockey pucks over there in the Discord. It's the stuff they do with him. They put him in a little spinning video of the trailer earlier when he first got up. It was fun, but shout out to it's Grimmy. I wanted to showcase that real quick. And then also we got a giveaway, right? This also came from community members over here. Shout out to Quarterwater and Nomi over here. They have provided tonight's giveaway, which was totally unplanned and then totally on them. We've got a derp up for grabs right now.
Derp. Oh my God.
Are you able to run it, Tommy, without TJ?
I can run this without TJ. I'm going to get the website up right now. So you guys give me a quick technical moment over there. If you guys really have,
and I can't, I almost want to go in for it, but we have a rule. We can't win our own giveaways.
It's a tough rule to kind of want to not break right now, right?
This is one of the hard ones.
So, and this will get you directly involved with, whether you're looking to get into the Derp ecosystem right now, if you guys have been tuning in, now's a great way to do that. If not, then hey, you can win something else to add to your squad. Man, I just wanted to say a huge shout out to them for doing that. They did not have to do that. And here we are. We're going to get ready to do that. So we need a keyword over here, Dave. Platform's a great one we can do.
I like platform.
All right. Platform is easy. So in order to do that, we will need a hashtag in front of the word platform. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to enter that in right now for you guys. Let me go ahead and share the screen for that. So that way we know we're doing this fair. You guys are about to be entered in for a Derp Bird, which is, man, that's a great giveaway to go ahead and win. Let me go ahead and put this in.
That's a sick derp.
All right, guys, let's hope this actually wins. So our live stream giveaway right now is hashtag platform. You guys. All right. Can you guys, there we go. Okay. Let's see. All right. Entries are coming in. There we go. Yeah. And if you guys have any other questions right now, you can drop them over in chat after you put hashtag platform. Make sure to enter that in. It'll pull you guys in once you put that. Drop it in here for Dave. Dave, dude, I feel like you just need like a water break right now, man. You just went through a whole game.
I don't know if you guys can see how sweaty I am. I'm like so sweaty.
I love that. Well, we definitely feel the energy when we get done with this, because I'm just as tired as I usually am on a Monday night. Now I'm just like, I end up getting wired. We end up staying on for like another 30 minutes. I can't do that tonight. We've done that in the past where it's like all of a sudden it's like, all right, it's 12:20. I want to go to bed.
I can't. Oh,
what'd you do here, Tommy? You broke it.
I can't get the thing up. It was weird. I was trying to get. It's all good.
It looks fine.
I was trying to get Dave's sweaty face in there for that.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I see the dirt behind you too, there, Dave. Is that coming with you guys? You guys will be at Rare Evo, right?
Yeah, we're not doing a booth this year though. We're just the whole team's there. In fact, dude, I'm so glad you asked. Bajewski and Lua are on their way now. They're traveling right now, so I've been checking in on them throughout the day. You know, like they're my kids. But yeah, they're coming out. So it's gonna be me, Geek, Lua, Bajewski. Krista might come out on the last day or something, but she's not playing on it. So yeah, we're gonna have, for the first time, we'll have like the whole team there, and we're just there to network and hang out. I get to meet Bajewski and Lua, in person. I'm so stoked. Like I'm really excited. to get to meet them in person.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to see some of the photos. I know this is the 1 year, of course, that I'm not going to make it out, which is unfortunate, but I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody's stuff, man. Because especially you guys. I know you did the booth last year with Goombles and Alley Cats, kind of like a little shared experience. Are you guys just walking around this year, or do you have something set up?
Just walking around, no booth, just gonna take it easy. I think I'm super excited for Rare Evo this year, like everything they put together. And if there was a year that seems like we should have a booth, it's probably this year. But to be honest, it is difficult to justify the cost. I think they've done a good job at getting the cost down. That's one of the reasons I think for being in Vegas. But it is still costly, and we just have to think about like, where does their funding, what's going to take us further? Is it building these next set of things, or getting a booth at a convention that, if it's mostly Cardano based, I think most people know us. So yeah, not the year for us to get a booth, but we'll be there in force and definitely talking about adventures.
Nice. I love it. I love any. I guess you guys have pretty much put out all the news now beforehand. I was wondering if some people would save some stuff that we haven't seen yet. But I mean, for you guys, I mean, this has been more than enough to get a chance to digest. Now I'm pretty much just like, how am I going to wait 2 weeks to go ahead and wait for this? You know,
we got a couple other little goodies that we'll drop on X between now and the launch. But yeah, I now it's just counting down the days for the launch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's got to be an honor for you guys to finally be able to push this button and say, go. We got a date, we got a pin here. And now you guys can kind of move forward, right? Like I can imagine that working up until this point has been such like a stress point where you're like, all right, we already got new content that's already on the works. We're going to see like take the data from this and where we can kind of grow it. I mean, is that, you know, that the exciting part for you guys? Where's your mindset at now?
Yeah, I mean, for me, to be honest, like as I said, I have to been so I've had to take a step back from hanging out in Discord and just hanging out with the community as much as I would like. And so to be honest, like I know we just talked about our biggest tech feature ever. It's going to change the project and what we're able to do. But I'll say, like, it's such a good question, because in my mind, there's nothing that's going to be more impactful on Derps and where we go than what the community can unlock for us. And I know that's like, some people might disagree with that, but I think like what's going to be, we talk about like wanting to grow the community and bring new people in and make Derps more accessible for more people. I think a lot of it's going to fall to the community, not fall to them, but for us to sort of rally and think about what the initiatives are that are going to bring the community together for us to be able to do that. And so for me, that's the thing I'm kind of the most excited to get Adventures launched for, is I want to launch Adventures so that we have the bandwidth to get back to just being able to shoot the shit and hang out with the community more. And yeah, it'll be a huge relief to get on the other side of the launch.
Love it. Well, let's go ahead. We're already 2 hours and 15 minutes in. You guys have been super patient with us. We're going to go ahead and run this giveaway over here. You guys have a really good chance of winning right now. We're going to go ahead and draw this. Again, shout out to Quarter Water and Nomi for providing us up. You guys are amazing. We're going to go ahead and run this right now. Who will be our winner of one new Derp Bird? Congrats to 562. You are our winner tonight. Shout out to you.
561 heads before you.
Yeah.
And he just DCA'd. He just bought an Outpost.
Is he the Pinnacle Perch that I just saw in there?
Yeah, exactly. There you go. He just DCA'd. Awesome. So.
There you go. Ed the Great right there.
Hey, I will say just real quick, one more thing, because it's Ed who won, and he's big, Vampire Invasion holder and Bajewski supporter. We didn't even get to talk about that tonight, but when we talk about additional content layers, like a big part of one of the things we have planned is something we've been working towards for a long time, and it's the inclusion of what we're going to be doing with vampires. And so again, because Ed won, it kind of made me think of that. But that's something else. Again, there's not a lot to say specifically about that other than Adventures gives us the ability to do it the way that we've been wanting to do it. And so just throw that out there as like one little final little piece of alpha.
Okay. I love that because imagine, I remember when the vampires were a thing, a lot of derp holders started sweeping some of those things. So who knows what you can do with those extra slots and those extra things. Maybe there's a special area outside of Derpetonia, a little portal they can go through. I don't know. I'm just thinking outside the box. And I'm waiting to just see what Dave thinks right there by saying that. But yeah, no, I love that. And shout out to Ed the Great. You can DM you can open up a ticket in our Discord. It's pinned at the top of this chat over in YouTube. I think I just tagged you over in your chat too, in Derp. So congrats to you. Also, huge shout out to, like I said, Nomi and Quarter Water for setting that up. You guys did not have to do that, but that's just the power and the testament of the Derp community. You guys are always showing up, and dude, it's so fun because they want people to get into it and experience the joy. So, man, I love it. And Dave, I'm gonna have a fun time going back and trying to timestamp this, put this up for everybody. But it's going to be a good time. We'll get it up over on, if you guys missed the conversation, obviously it's on X. We will upload it separately and also drop it on our Spotify and our Apple Podcast. That'll go live tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. If you guys are interested in listening to it in a video format or in an audio format. Yeah, man. I'm excited. That's all I can say. It's crazy surreal that we've gotten to this point now in 2024 that we're getting NFTs have evolved to this point where you get to just build what you guys have done right now. And it's an honor and a chance, to host you guys and for thinking of us, for being able to put this content out today and showing it off to everybody. So again, huge thank you to you.
Happy to do it. Yeah. And I'll just echo the same right back to you guys. Thanks for whether it's Derp content or not, just like the role that you guys fill in the space. Especially right now, it's like really needed. So super grateful that you guys are keeping up the grind and continuing to provide great coverage for the space. Thanks for having me on and letting me sweat all over the place for 2 hours and 15 minutes now. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Absolutely. No, for sure.
We're going to go ahead and cut this stream off, guys. We appreciate it. Again, one more plug, if you guys are still hanging out with us, make sure to go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys are over on YouTube, if you're on X, go ahead and hit that retweet and hit that like, share it as much as you can. Post it everywhere. It supports us. It supports Derps. It supports the community. And we appreciate all the time that you guys have put with us over the years and over the months. So shout out to you guys tonight. It's been a great night and have a good Rare Evo. If you guys are heading out there, we look forward to seeing all the content from everybody. We'll catch you guys next week, Monday night. Peace.